Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order for May 2nd, Romeo Downtown Development Authority. Elizabeth, could you do roll call, please?
Yeah. Okay. All right, Tara. Todd is absent. Nelson?
Here.
Brent?
Here.
Rose?
Here.
Hayes?
Here.
Poznanski absent. Parker?
Yeah.
Here. If you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have anybody here for public forum tonight? Ladies? Nope. Just visiting? Okay, before I make a motion to approve the agenda, under new business, I'd like to add B, which is mulching. What areas are you guys doing?
The southwest quadrant.
Southwest quadrant, okay.
This is the public areas, not,
Around the,
no, I pay for my own.
okay. But the outline,
Yep.
yep.
There's 2 triangular shaped beds and a bunch of other stuff there.
Okay, with that addition under new business, can I get an approval of the agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as amended. Yep.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Was the second, I'm sorry, was the second for Hayes?
Hayes.
Yeah. Mhm. And then we have 2 sets of minutes. We have the April 4th budget workshop meeting minutes and then the April 4th regular meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve those as presented?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, financial report.
I'm sorry, Kelly, did you do those together?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Michelle, I guess you're up.
So in your packet, you'll see we did not collect any revenue this month. And this is the expenditure. The first report is the statement of financial position. The first column is the current year, next column is last year, the change. Which changed there from last month. The next page is the detailed portion of the statement of activity. It shows all the year-to-date expenses this year and revenue and the change from last year. So that's the next 2 pages. And then the next page is the cash transactions of everything that actually occurred this month, since we have no revenues. It's just the bills, payroll, and tax payment. So they're all listed there. I just combined it now that there's not all the different bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any questions on that, of what any of the bills were for, you can, anybody have any questions on that, you can look it over.
Elizabeth, the visual impact systems, that was those containers for the,
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yes. And those, yeah, and in the director's report, I talk about
Yeah.
those, yeah. But, any other questions on that? The last report is the amended budget versus actuals, year-to-date. Well, actually, it's April's, and then the year-to-date with the balance remaining here. So the only changes were what you saw.
so category-wise, there's quite a fund balance in each one of these categories, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we still have some spending to do. So Elizabeth and I are gonna go through, we're gonna, this month, go through what we think
I think I asked you guys to figure out what will roll over
we're
from.
gonna probably work on that next week, so I can even let you know a little ahead of time, but, I know some of these are already earmarked, they just haven't been paid out yet. And there's the credit card statement. And then we did amend the budget. On the last page, you'll see in yellow, there's the summary one and the detailed one. And I just marked in yellow what changed from the last month.
So Michelle, we have that, you're talking about for the proposed budget?
Yes,
We have that under unfinished business, so I have it in a separate section.
all right,
Yeah.
all right.
Then I see where did I put that? The bills were $7,041.81 to pay?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Is that correct? Because it was left blank on the front sheet.
Yes, I had not carried that over, so I apologize for
Yeah,
that.
down at the bottom of the cash transactions, it says total expenditures for April, that we need approval for $7,041.81.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve the bills for April in the amount of $7,041.81.
I'll second.
Roll call, Elizabeth?
Rose? Grant?
Yes.
Parker?
Yep.
Hayes?
Yes.
Carr? Malzahn?
I will abstain because there's payments to both the Village of Romeo and Romeo Printing.
Stevens?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and, I'm still learning a lot about the system. I just had my last meeting with Carla, so just be patient with me till I get it more familiar with it all, and, Elizabeth and I will get more time to spend this month, hopefully, to go over more stuff.
Well, you had a short time frame with
Yes,
it.
and I was on vacation, and it was just kind of a crazy month to start, but we got through it. It was late night, but.
It wasn't too bad. Yeah, we were,
Yeah.
I think I think by the time we left on Thursday night, it was almost 11 o'clock. So the police walked me to my car, which was nice, but it's Romeo. But still, it was a little late. So,
And, you know, feel free to email me too if you have any questions after looking more thoroughly at them.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, my email is accounting@romeodda.org, just to make it easy. I left it at accounting, so. Okay.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, the Executive Director's Report.
sure. So, the DDA Event Committee met a few times this last month, and we worked with the Village Tree Board to put on the second annual Arbor Day celebration. This year it was just an annual Arbor Day last year, and it kind of turned into a big celebration this year. We're considering changing it to, an Arbor Day Fest or an Arbor Fest or something, just to keep in line where, we're working on, the whole rebranding of the downtown, and it just seems kind of fitting to continue a same theme in a way. And it was, by all accounts, I think it was a pretty huge success. We had food vendors, and we had regular vendors, and we had some jewelry being sold, and we had some businesses that were there as sponsors. There's a credit union, Extra Credit Union, who actually gave us a donation of $250 for this project, or for this event, and they were there giving all kinds of things out. MIT TV was there giving things out, the kids' crafts. Madison was quite busy with all the children's activities behind the gazebo. And the Serve Kids, of course, showed up once again and dressed in costumes. We had one of the Romeo District Libraries, one of the children's librarians came and dressed up in, I'm not sure which costume she was in, but
She was in one of the tree costumes.
one of the tree costumes, yes. And they just had so much fun. And then, I'm so appreciative to the budget that you all set for me on this, and actually we came in 500 under budget, so with an addition, of course, of having that donation too, that helped offset it. So the day before, I thought, we still have some funds here. I should contact Crazy Craig Juggling and see if he's available, and he just happened to be. And it was perfect because he filled the spots where there would have been dead spots, and he was incredible. So that really worked out well because he did such a great job for us during Winterfest, so that went well. And then we did, one of the things I believe strongly in is supporting the downtown businesses by not always asking them for donations, but actually paying for things. So there are 3 of the restaurants we purchased $30 gift cards for the prizes that went with that, plus we added a t-shirt from the new branding material on that as well. The committee recommends that we choose the first weekend of February for Winterfest, so next year it would be February 3rd. We'd like to move forward with this event on an annual basis, and there's a few other events that will be discussed under another agenda item. There is great interest in the Romeo DDA continuing to creatively sponsor via monetary and non-monetary ways, via networking, marketing, partnerships, etc. As such, I'd like to seek the approval of the attached events calendar for the remainder of 2022. Some of these are small and don't require much assistance, but will be a huge support to the business community. Some of them may not come to fruition, but we will make those decisions as we move through the next month. Under the new budget structure, there are funds to move within the different line items and would stay within their own categories. Monetary and in-kind donations will continue to be pursued to help offset some of these expenses as deemed appropriate. Another thing that we talked about that's not on here when Carla and Michelle and I met is we're going to start tracking in-kind donations as well, because when we don't track what we don't see in a budget or expenses, you really don't have a clue what's coming in for free, if you will. So we're going to start tracking that, and Michelle and I will work on trying to figure out how to make that happen. Much like what we did for Winterfest, if you remember in March's board packet, we included the volunteer hours and the in-kind donations. Downtown beautification, several volunteers have already begun cleaning up the Starkweather Alley and Parker Alley. There's a huge interest in putting some edible landscaping as a pilot program. I need to check to make sure this doesn't conflict with one of the employees of the village. You know, Jeff Hopp does such a great job there, but I think he could use some help with some of that. So we had some weeds being pulled last week and whatnot. All of our contracted flowers and pots are growing and they're blooming beautifully. Upon review of our contract, we have one of the most comprehensive and all-encompassing contracts that I've reviewed so far. And I've reviewed probably up to about 5 or 6. There are over 138 planters that are installed, all in the Central Business District. In addition, the contract includes several rectangular and round planters, the alleyways, gazebo, and a few other small beds. We'll be incorporating some of the plantings into the bed that will be created in front of the Masonic Lodge when the concrete work is completed as part of the crosswalk project. This is helping to offset a few expenses from the original crosswalk project estimate, and that's a big thanks goes out to Paulo Mira from Rowe for catching that and making the suggestion. I've been working with Matt Jarosz to install Edison lighting throughout all 3 alleyways. We've had verbal confirmation. We've gotten permission from all business owners, and we've gotten in writing from DTE that anchor bolts can be attached in buildings and also on the one power line. This would also assist us in Christmas decorations being installed in our permanent alleyways, as that was a problem last year. Some of the businesses that had some repairs done to them, they removed the anchor bolts, and so then when they went to put them up, there wasn't anything there. So it's much nicer to attach anchor bolts and cables when your fingers aren't going to freeze off in November. Complete inventory of our banners has been completed, thanks to Madison and another intern from the village. As you may be aware, 7 additional storage containers were purchased. All have been labeled with luggage tags with the complete content of each and a photo of the banner inside. We have many options to use downtown, and it would be good to put several up throughout the year. It's possible the Romeo High School graduate banners will be back. Final word hasn't been received. And it still needs to be decided how the funding of the DPW expense for this is going to happen. And upon approval of the Romeo Village Council at the April 18th meeting, I'm going to be presenting the alley closure project under new business, as the scope of the project has been expanded to include the other alleyways, has been some of the suggestions from some of the board members. As you know, we'll be presenting the budget, the final budget at the end of this, and I'm planning to pursue a goal of $20,000 in donations to help offset some of the budget expenses. And then the Michigan Downtown Association podcasts continue to be uploaded. Webinars continue to be available, and I'm wondering, is there an interest in a monthly discussion on these webinars at all from board members? How's everybody's viewing of those going?
I know, I think I've gone through 2 of them so far that seemed relevant, and there was definitely some good information, and some good best practices that we can put in place as a board and, just improve on some of the things we're doing. Whether or not, I think it's more on an individual basis, in my opinion. I don't know if we necessarily need to review those at a monthly meeting, but it can be.
Well, if anybody has board member comments at the end or
Sure.
something.
Yeah.
I found the board one to be very informative as in serving on a board. Yeah.
Okay.
I've made it through 2 of them, definitely informative. I think we're all at different stages in how we've been a board member or been involved in this type of a setting, so it certainly benefited me quite a bit, whereas a lot of it's probably old news to a lot of guys.
Could always use a refresher though too, no matter how long you've been on. It helped me, so.
Okay. And then one thing I didn't add was, of course, the rolling out of our new brand, and I know Zach's going to speak to that here in just a second. But we, at his suggestion, we came up at no cost, getting all the T-shirts out, the logos, the logo stickers. You see copies of the new business cards. The corners aren't cut off of those, but those will be done. I grabbed those on Friday so we could have them in time for Arbor Day. The website, of course, has our whole new brand, Facebook, Instagram, talking about doing having some kind of a banner, even maybe that's out here every time we have our board meeting. It could be used on a tent, on anything, going forward. Not the big one, not like a big across the street one, but one that you would have like at a booth.
Tabletop, like right in front.
Right.
Yeah. And we need new stationery, some thank you cards, labels, things like that. Those are things that I'd like to get taken care of right away. So I think I'll turn it over to Zach if you can speak to the spreadsheet,
Yeah,
because you
absolutely.
understand this. Not
Yeah, I prepared this spreadsheet here, and if you look, it's basically our initial first print run with a breakdown of all the sizes and quantities that we did. The sales as of 4:30, which was the day after the Arbor Day event. And then our remaining inventory is on the second page, along with the current retail value of the inventory. So basically, we are over halfway through the initial inventory run, and out of those 138 pieces, the DDA will be earning $10 per unit on those. So it's $1,380 once that inventory is sold through. That would be used as a revenue tool for the DDA. And there was a lot of really good interest at the Arbor Day Festival, people asking about what else it could go on. They wanted to see hats and asking, will these be available at other merchants? And I said, absolutely. We're working on making it so that whether it's Kathy or John or Carl, and they want to have them in their storefronts, we'll figure out a way to make that work so that people in town can get it wherever they're shopping. We set up the website. We're managing all the orders that come through that. So we've shipped a couple out of state already for the orders that have come through. And a lot of really good feedback, and I think it creates some good opportunity for getting that logo out there that Jessica did such a great job on.
So I'm curious, and I imagine Zach is too. How does the board feel about this now that it's launched and it's in front of you? I mean, how do you feel about this being part of the DDA?
I think it's a great marketing tool, and you could have a shop on the website too. People could order them, right?
Well, and we do have that set up
Okay.
right now. There is a link that's live where people can place their orders, and eventually, yes, that can be a
Okay.
page on the new DDA website when that launches that people can just hit.
And it
shop
would take
now.
it back to you, right?
Well, it
Yes.
could actually be a link off, but it would be a link off of
Right.
that page there. So, like I said, we're managing those orders as they come through at no additional cost, just the cost of the printing, obviously. But yeah, like I said, you're in just, I think maybe we launched this a little less than 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're already halfway through that initial run, which is great.
There's a huge interest from the businesses in town for them to get them for their employees, and that happened. Town Hall Antiques got 8 in one day. They're like, because they had a filming happening there that very next day, and they wanted them on in person. So it's even something that maybe we provide some of them for, if we wanted to have, like, there's a downtown day that's in the events calendar that's sponsored by the Michigan Downtown Association. It's one of those things that would make a whole lot of sense to see if the whole town, the businesses wears them on that day. So it would make sense to, give them a little bit of a better deal. And in my opinion, I think if shops are going to sell these, they should be making a little bit of money off of them, because it's taking away from, it just makes sense. So we wouldn't probably earn as much on those particular ones, but we can figure out those details. So, but glad you like it. So thank you.
Thank you,
and-
Zach, for putting that
Yeah,
spreadsheet
he did
together.
a and again, Jessica Newby, she refuses to get paid for her work. She said I just want to get in downtown with my shop. So she's excited about that. One last thing, under the director's report, I don't have it put in there, but you all were gracious to support me going to the workshop back in November. There's a summer workshop up in Charlevoix on June 3rd. We have only $310 left in that budget section for this year. I don't know if that's something that you all would support me attending. It would be a little bit over that. The event itself, I think, is 100. No, it's 125. But then, obviously I'm not driving there and back in one day. But think about it, and maybe, I don't know, maybe if we can talk about it later or not. Or I apologize for not having that as part of your board
When
packet.
is that event?
It's on June 3rd. It's a Friday, June 3rd.
So it's the weekend before the meeting. Our meeting's June 6th.
Correct. Yep.
Mhm.
Just like the last one was. Yeah.
So are you asking to attend this and have overnight accommodations?
For one night would be helpful. Yes.
What city again is it?
In Charlevoix.
So how much is the thing? 125?
It's let's see. No, before May 24th. It's actually 110, because we are members, so it's cheaper actually. Yeah, so it's 110, and I think when I looked at the room reservations, it's like right around 250 is what the block group that they have.
So that's 360. What'd you say we had left?
310.
310.
Where could we move it?
What's in that category?
960 is where training and conferences are. It's a good thing the accountant's sitting right here.
How come I don't see 960 on here?
I'm looking, it would be under your budget to actuals.
Right? Is there a 960 though?
No, I said 310. Oh, a 960 category? Yes, training, it's under memberships, 960.00.
Oh, I see that. Mhm. So within this category,
You're way under in office supplies. I think that
Yeah,
there's
you're right.
still some room there in the legals auditing. You got money.
Well, there's
You
promotions.
got money in memberships too.
memberships, yep.
Okay,
Let's move that out of there.
okay, well, we can do that, we can amend that at next month, the final amendment for this year. We can't move it yet.
Right,
But we
have
you're
to
giving
give
me
you an up to spend if you want to go to this, right?
Okay, yeah.
So it came to 360
Plus mileage.
mileage.
I'll make a motion to approve not to exceed 425. Does that seem reasonable?
I'll second.
425 reasonable, Elizabeth?
You need
If
more?
I can make that work.
Okay. All right, can you do a roll call on that then?
Yeah, so the motion was
To approve you to attend this conference.
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry, but it was Malzahn, and that was second by
Correct.
who?
Hayes?
Hayes,
Okay.
yep.
So did we identify where we're pulling it from?
Yes,
we're taking
out of
from,
memberships.
Memberships.
Okay. Okay, Char?
Yes.
Let's see, Kellogg is not done. Malzahn?
Yes.
Brandt?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes?
Hayes?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes,
Parker?
Yes.
All right.
motion
All right.
carries.
Thank you, and that, as you know, that is not like me to do that, so thank you for the last minute. It came in the mail, I've been struggling with that one, but in seeing the need for it, so thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth, for the report. Up next, we have funding request under facade facade improvement grant applications. We had two put in their applications, but what we've come to realize, we kind of put the horse before the cart. In reviewing,
That'd be a good thing.
pardon me?
The horse is supposed to be.
Yeah. Okay, the other way around. But in reviewing our application, what this requires is photographs of before and after your project. So it's the end project that you are going to present to us. So we appreciate you taking this on. I think it's great for downtown, but we're not there to fund anything yet. And did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, sure, I can. And again, this is, I guess I'll throw myself under the bus under this one. You know, we have this application on the current website, so when people see it, they still, you know, it's active, right? But it's not up to date. There's no space on there for an applicant to put how much they're requesting. There's, you know, there's some things that are missing. We don't have, there isn't a facade improvement committee that I'm aware of, so
No,
that
and
needs to
that's
be
what-
created.
That needs to be created, yes.
And I'm aware, you know, Kathy is here, and Morgan from Main Street Romeo, they are out of town, so it worked out well that they're not here. But Kathy still wanted to come tonight and speak a little bit to it, understanding that nothing's going to get approved tonight. And then Kelly and I had a conversation this afternoon as to what to possibly do with some of those funds that are in this fiscal year and whatnot. But if you could give Kathy a few minutes just to speak to her project, I think you'll be pretty excited about what she wants to do.
Do
And
we
then,
actually have any money in this? Do we have any money?
yes, we have 100% of the funds for this fiscal year, and then in the recommended budget, we increased it. So this year's there's $7,000 in the line item, and next year we have $10,000.
So you're asking to roll the 7,000 over to next year's budget?
I think that it would be advantageous for us to do that. We have several businesses downtown that have purchased buildings that are making some huge improvements.
Okay,
but-
so go ahead, Bill.
And this is different and separate from the awards?
This would be the award. This is what you all have set up that was approved. You guys revised this in July of 2020.
And the review is the DDA committee reviews the applications. Applications shall be on file for review by the DDA board. The DDA Facade Improvement Committee of DDA board members reviews and recommends awards to the full board. So that's where we need to start. We need
Yes.
to come up with a
Do we
committee.
Have we ever had a dollar limit on this?
I think that's
We-
something for the committee to make the recommendation of. A
Okay, I mean, I'm
subcommittee.
just
Yeah,
asking.
no.
Yeah, we haven't capped, we had capped the sign grants in the past at $500 per
Right.
applicant, but I don't think we never really, in my time, we never had anybody be awarded the facade grant, so I guess I can't speak to that one
I don't think we had
specifically.
anybody apply,
Right,
right?
right,
Yeah.
So my question to the board,
From the facade grant.
it's different,
who,
yeah.
do I have any volunteers that would serve on this committee?
I would be willing to.
I
Jack?
can.
John, did you say? Okay.
If we do it during the middle of the day, I can't.
Is that something that you think any board members that aren't here would want to participate in, or
I can put an email out. to
how many
them.
people do you want on that?
Greg, would you, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I know you've been vocal in the past about, stuff like this, if somebody's redoing their, like with ACE.
It would, depend on how often you would envision us going through it and such, but yeah, I certainly would be available, make myself available on a sporadic basis.
Yeah, I think we need one initial meeting to really
Look at
flesh
which,
this out
yeah.
and
mhm.
figure out the details of it and, the cap amounts and things like that, and then
Zach,
after.
I would.
I don't think it's an
I'll do
ongoing
it.
committee.
Bill, you wanna be on it?
Only upon,
Since I
once,
volunteered for-
we'd have to review
never
these
volunteered
initial
for
ones and make a
committees.
I know.
recommendation to the board.
Okay,
I
so
wanted to see if I could shock you tonight.
we got Zach, John,
Either for me.
Greg, and Bill who have
It could be
volunteered.
either for me.
And Bill?
I
Yep.
just can't do daytime. I can do evening.
Did,
I would be honored if it could be an evening meeting, but I can't do daytime.
I guess
You
that's-
have
you
four,
guys have
you
to
have
catch-
4 already.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I think we'll go with the 4 we have.
Okay. If there's any interest in looking at other facade award programs to maybe simplify it or maybe bring it up to date, that's something that I'd be happy to look at that.
You'd sent me a few before, actually,
Mhm.
before we found.
Yeah,
that,
so we
so
could do some of that. I think, the work that these 2 applicants have already put in, I think is substantial. But if you would let her speak for a few minutes, I
Yeah,
think it'd be good
absolutely.
for her to speak to her project. But that'll be great, moving that forward. So perfect. Kathy?
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me give you an update on what I'm looking at doing. I don't know if you have the information. Did you get the
Mhm.
information?
Okay.
Okay. All right. With that, so I'm looking at doing some renovations, obviously starting outside since it's weather permitting, hopefully soon with that. So we're talking paint, landscaping. I've already started the landscaping, and that is not in that budget that I had given to you, because that I have not gotten back yet from the people that I'm working with. The planter boxes and the antique door, that is something I just kind of decided to do, and I bit the bullet and I actually bought it the other day. So they kind of gave me an offer I couldn't refuse, so I went ahead and moved forward with that. But in doing this, I just really was looking to help keep the historical look of the downtown area with the building. That's why I went forward with this door. It's gorgeous. It's from England. It's an antique. It will be painted as well. I think that picture that you have there is the original color that it is now. So moving forward with that, I really am looking at really trying to keep the historical look to the building with that, and adding some interest and some excitement to that too. I'm extremely excited about doing it. I love antiques. That's what got me into this business. So I'd like to bring what I have on the inside, I'd like the outside to be that as well. So if you have any questions about anything that I am doing, a lot of it's up in the air right now because I'm still getting in quotes and ideas. And as a matter of fact, on the way here, I was talking to the landscaper. Okay, are we doing, we're doing the hydrangeas? Which ones are we doing? That kind of thing. So a lot of it's up in the air. But as you can see there with the numbers that are there, the project will probably be around $20,000 once we get to the point of getting all the painting in done as well. Because that paint quote is just for the bottom part of the building. It does not include the planter boxes or the door itself. So with that. And I did understand that this was not going to be an approval. I know I work on that with another board, and I know that there's a process that it goes through. So I totally understand that, and I want to thank you for looking forward with that. And also one thing too, I did notice that there was a sign grant program as well, which I downloaded, and I did want to talk to you about that as well, because there will be new signage with that. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any of them.
I do have a couple questions, if you don't mind, if it's okay. One, I'm already coveting the door, so it's fabulous. So good work on that.
Gorgeous.
Right, absolutely. The planter boxes seem, they're beautiful as well, reminiscent of what I see across the street at the coffee shop, so good taste on both of you. I wondered if there was any consideration to what they're considering their service area. We have obviously the patios for youngers, the office pub, the sushi, and the coffee shop. But are you considering applying for that so that there might be some more outdoor merchandising, that you would be able to put some product out there during the day just to attract some more attention? And I didn't know if these planters were going to make that area, sort of confine it, or if these planters were going up against the building.
They're going up against the building.
Okay.
Like you see in that picture there.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of define some definition with that. And then moving over to the building next to me, just north of me, she will probably continue on with those same planter boxes to kind of marry the two buildings with that. So
But they'll be up against,
they
not
will
not
be-
out.
no,
Okay.
they will be right up against the building.
That's actually her property. There's only 3 businesses in downtown Romeo
Right.
that they own the 6
Front.
feet out. Kelly's has got one, and those next to it, that's actually private property. So when we had other work done out there, we ended up paying, like for the sidewalks, out of our own pockets for it.
But I think what Christine is alluding to is, in warmer months, do you have enough room to bring merchandise outside?
We have done it in the past, and obviously we have done it this past weekend.
But is that application you have to apply for to do that?
Well, that would be something that the village council would approve,
Okay.
just like we do the service areas for the other restaurants. I just thought it was so inviting to, to walk past. It's obviously such a visual, like, hey, something's going on over there, or, oh my gosh, I need to take that home with me, right? Let's go over there and shop in the store, so.
Right.
eh,
And
Not that
I
I'm looking to
agree.
clutter up the sidewalks by any means, but I just thought if we were putting the planters out there, I didn't know if that was the purpose.
Yeah. No,
Kind of like to
it's-
box it in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just doing that for decorative purposes, actually.
Okay.
But there still will be plenty of room to put merchandise out there, as well. Because the planter boxes will probably be about 2.5 feet in depth.
Okay.
So with the, I know you mentioned on the sign grant as well, applying for that, and I think that's where these two applications are kind of different. The facade grant is looking for a completed project, whereas on the sign grant, we're usually given the specs of the proposed sign prior to it being installed or created, so that there is, if there's some sort of I don't want to say influence, but something that we can suggest that's more in keeping with the historical preservation and something more in that tone, that's where we kind of work with you and say, okay, this passes the criteria for
Absolutely.
being awarded that before you go and actually create the sign.
Yeah.
So they're kind of just a little different order of operations, but yeah, we'd
Yep,
love to see it when you bring it
absolutely,
by.
because I do understand it with the sign. And the company that I'm working with, she is doing exactly that.
Perfect.
So you'll have the image of the sign and then all of the dimensions, what it's made out of and all of
Perfect.
that. And I've been working with her on that.
Great.
Real quick, the door, where's the location of the door?
It'll be right in the front, so you know how I
Is
have
it
like 3
replacing?
doors?
It's replacing one of the doors?
It'll actually we'll actually have a vestibule, so that actually built out a little bit.
Oh, okay, so there'll be one door,
So there'll be one door and you'll enter in, but there'll be 2 other doors to enter into. It's really more for looks than it is
Yep.
for,
my only other comments are, looks really great, and thank you, from what I can see here, and I hope that we can pull that all together.
I'm hoping I can pull it off.
Obviously, I have a direct visual of a cross there, and there's a lot of work needs to be done. I mean, I won't get into what, but you can
Yep.
visually see, a lot of stuff, so this is really great, so thank you for putting this together, and hopefully 99% of it works out.
I hope it does, yes. Perfect. Anything else?
Nope. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Kathy. And if you
Nice
notice,
job, thanks.
we'll do that later. If anybody were you were downtown on Saturday, I went out to grab some stuff from Buscemi's for lunch. We were working on the art, and it was packed. It was just packed. Buscemi's was busy, like everything was packed with her having that event. So that was really nice to have that. So, okay,
Okay. Do you want to talk about this?
which one?
Night
Oh,
Under the Stars.
Sure. I did not ask Kelly if she wanted me to put that in there. I just decided, in looking at the way that a lot of DDAs function and looking at our budget and looking at how the DDA has sponsored things in the past, especially with our rebranding and the awareness of what the DDA is doing in downtown, it just, for me as the director, it makes sense that we support some of these events that are happening downtown through just a small sponsorship, and then also in promoting those events. And so I added, and I know, that usually you have the form and all of that, but since I'm presenting it to you, I thought I'd just throw it in here. Night Under the Stars, I got this, of course, because we are members of the chamber, and, they have the different sponsorship levels. I feel like this is something we should do on an ongoing basis. And then one of the add-ons that I gave you was the Romeo and Juliet Garden Club. They don't have it ready, their flyer yet, but here's one of my ideas. When there are these events that happen in the downtown area or in the greater area, especially when there's ticket sales, it makes sense to me that there would be something on the back that said, bring your ticket to downtown Romeo and get, I'm going to make this one up, 10% off your retail or food purchase. Who wouldn't want to have that. I mean, if you had just even 5, right, John or Carl, if you had even 5 of those come through your doors and you had extra sales from the Romeo and Juliet garden walk, for example, or the historic the historic home tour, or the chamber, or something like that. So that's why I added on, the garden walk. You guys have sponsored them in the past. You've sponsored the Christmas home tours. Instead of them having to come every single time and give you one more agenda item to review and whatnot, it just seems like it's something that could and should be done and is done in many cases. So I'm curious about, really, it's both of those items, right? The sponsorship of both of them, and I'm interested to see what your thoughts are.
Well, you mentioned, is it the Christmas walk?
Mm-hmm.
So I already do that. So I have a coupon in their book. So my only initial thought would be careful, because I don't know if then I'd have 2 in the book. Or they'd lose one and gain one, so.
Saying that it's potentially taken away from an advertiser,
I'm just
that would
mentioning, because you
be,
brought that particular one up. So they already come in and receive stuff when they're doing their Christmas
Mhm.
tour. So, great idea, but we better, I wouldn't blanket every single thing going on
Sure.
in the village, but
Right.
you guys have businesses, I don't know if you're doing it as well, but
I'm not currently, but I think it's a good idea.
yeah, if we just make it DDA, then that's fine as well.
Here's the example that I like to use. When's the last time that you all went to a hotel, or a resort or something like that? And when you went to make the reservation, did you check to see if they had a pool or a gym? Right? You want the place that has the pool, the gym, maybe the restaurant. But then do you always use those facilities? No, we don't always use them when we go, but you like the idea of using them. So even if people aren't cashing those in, so to speak, the discount and coming into downtown, it's the association. It's the association with the brand. It's the connecting. It's connecting the experiences that creates the overall buy-in to the downtown area, if you will. So,
I would personally still like to see like the garden club or the historical society to go through that funding request process of bringing it to the board. We know specifically if we're going to sponsor something for $500, we know specifically what that's going to, and we, instead of just kind of like John said, like a blanket, just, yeah, sure, we're going to do this year in and year out. I think they should come to us and still go through the proper protocol of filling out the paperwork, and we can vote on it as a board year by year, or multiple times a year, depending on what kind of events they're doing.
So how do you want to handle Night Under the Stars?
Well, my thought is, okay, so I don't know if it's necessarily a sponsorship per se, but I know that there's a lot of requests that are made from the business side, for a giveaway, an item to go in a gift basket, where I can certainly see the DDA sponsoring a gift basket, where you would coordinate, again, a T-shirt or gift cards that you purchase, and organizing and putting that together, some goodies from Carl. I mean, I think there's enough businesses in town that the DDA could then buy those items instead of asking them to be donated from the merchants and then donating that basket to the charity.
And I think sponsoring something is a little different maybe than when, like, the Garden Walk comes to us and has a funding request, because really the visibility at Night Under the Stars is going to be different than what we might get from the garden club, just because it's more of an event that is selling sponsorships. They're selling ads, not necessarily selling sponsorships. Those are 2 different things.
I see your point.
You know what I mean? So I think those need to kind of be categorized differently as how we approach them. Like, Kelly shouldn't have to come with us necessarily with a funding request to say, hey, you can sponsor Night Under the Stars. It's kind of different when we do the Art and Wine Walk, because it's more of a collaborative thing, and it's a direct benefit to the businesses in town. But as far as how we want to handle this, I mean, I'm not opposed to it if you think it's something that would be beneficial from the DDA. We talked about when doing the banners, you and I discussed, well, do you sell sponsorships? And then we kind of said, well, why don't we just try to promote the other nonprofits, or like the library or Mid-TV?
Sure.
And, we kind of focus on those instead of making everything hey, here's $100, put our logo on something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, the Night Under the Stars, it's a downtown event. It brings a lot of people into town. It gets our brand on the material that's going out across the county. So when you look at it from an overall brand, right, you all are under a brand, right? You didn't tell me to do this, but we created this brand, right? So it's Downtown Romeo is, every business that's under it is now under that umbrella, if you will, and so they're going to get more. Once you see the new website, you'll be like, oh, now I get it.
Just
So that's where I'm going
some
with
background on this event too. This is our 10th annual. It highlights many of our local restaurants. We have 6 local artists that are participating in this. Elizabeth has suggested perhaps we sell the T-shirts there that night. And then it features a hometown success story. And this is our funding that we provide for our scholarships. So that's this event in a nutshell. So I don't know.
I would like to see us do something at least to the level where our brand is in there somewhere.
Let me ask
I don't know
you
what that
this,
looks
Kelly,
like.
and I don't know if this is a conflict at all with the chamber, but what if, could we have something set up? You know, we have that great video that's going to be on the new website. Is there something that we could set up maybe
And
with a
play it.
monitor and have that kind of going through and have that visibility as a, instead of like, you know, I know there's going to be table tents and other big signage like that, but it would kind of be cool for people coming to that event to see the new website and to see some of that in action, that video. I don't know, just a thought that came to mind.
Yeah, I'll be there that day. I'd be happy to figure out a way that we could have a booth there. But again, I mean, like just at the bronze level, I'm talking about having the brand, the logo on all of the material that's going out. And so the entry level for that, it looks to me like it's the bronze level. Is that correct, Kelly? Okay.
That's on your signage at the event. If you
Oh,
want to
not
get
in
on
the,
the
oh,
invite
not
and
in the,
stuff.
oh, gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
I just want to refine real quick. There's 2 things I heard out of this whole discussion. Night Under the Stars, which is one thing which I'm all for, absolutely, let's pick it out. I would like to see it move forward. Then came up all of these other events,
Right.
and that's when I kind of jumped in. I said, well, let's not just blanket everything. So
No, I'm not asking
Night
for
Under
that.
the Stars, great. Let's talk about it. The rest, I think we need to discuss a little further.
Agreed,
Okay.
agreed.
So I think the line item was Night Under the Stars, right?
And that's where I think actually seeing an application for whatever amount they want to request and with the use would be better for this board to say, okay, well, they're using
Yeah.
it for marketing, they're using it for advertising, or we're
Right.
just going to donate an item, whatever that is, would be defined in that application.
Okay, that helps give me some direction.
Agreed. But this is already a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned, the way it blankets the county, and we know who's already invited in this.
So you're looking for a motion
do you
to
wanna make a
approve one of the sponsorships amount? Is that was your hope tonight?
Yep.
Because this
I
is
am,
coming up?
and
Okay.
she and I did not talk about this at all. So I'm requesting it for the chamber.
Okay, so I'll make a
Yes.
motion to approve the bronze level sponsorship for the Night Under the Stars for $150.
Seconded?
And was that on TAR?
But can I ask a question? You said that's just the logo at the event, not what goes out. What's the one that puts it up when it goes out to people, or do we not care?
the
about
$500 level will get you on the invite, a banner ad on the website, which runs up to 6 months. That's where the value is.
I was going to say, I think if that is our goal as far as participating, I think I'd rather see us be more at that gold level than the bronze level for this particular event, just based on the visibility, you know?
Yeah,
So,
because you're going out on the invite, you're having a banner ad.
Is
in the
that going to get us a table where we can even sell merchandise and the whole bit?
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I can do that.
And if you direct your attention to the budget, we actually have 97.22% left in our advertising and promotions budget. We have $2,625 left still in that. So there's plenty of money in this fiscal year that ends in less than 60 days.
So there's a motion.
There's a
on the
motion
floor.
for the bronze level.
I'll amend my motion for the $500.
For the gold level?
Seconded.
Okay.
Roll call?
Tar.
Yes.
Kellogg is absent. Melzan?
Yes?
Brandt?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Poznanski is absent. Stevens?
Abstain.
And Parker.
Yes.
Okay, motion
Thank you, you
carries.
guys.
Yeah.
Very
absolutely.
generous. Hope you can all come to it, too.
So I will communicate with the Romeo and Juliet Garden Club and ask them to
June 24th.
ask them to fill that out, so.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the rest of the board that the Historical Society, because they came to us last year for a funding request.
Yeah.
The Juliet Garden Club, that is more under a funding request, where you guys just approved to more advertising. I think that's, yeah. So, just my thought.
That helps give me some direction when I'm getting questions
Mhm.
from a lot of these companies, so that's good.
And with our funding request, isn't it part of our rules that our logo has to go on with
Oh,
the
yeah.
funding?
Oh, yeah.
So we'll get it
Correct.
with whatever funding goes.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
Pretty great transition to what's been, I think, a phenomenal presentation that we might see, right, next?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, are you talking about Madison?
Yes. Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
And notice her dress.
Yes. So I would like to obviously introduce Madison. Madison, come on up. She's going to present to you. It was pretty fun. Weekend before last, she sends me a text message on Sunday. I'm so excited to talk to you about this thing I want to do. And I'm like, oh boy. So, and then I thought I was looking at myself and hearing myself when she was saying these things. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
Full of excitement. Hello. I have met most of you. I don't believe I have met you. So, hello. Nice to meet you. As many of you know, I have been in an internship here at the Romeo DDA since March 7th, co-funded with the 4-County Community Foundation and the Romeo DDA. During this time, I have helped build out the business directory, communicate with those said businesses, in the planning of downtown events and marketing, led volunteer organization, and learned how to further fundraise these projects. In addition, I have worked alongside the executive director to help organize and coordinate events such as our Winterfest event, where I was volunteering, and our recent Arbor Day event, which happened this past Friday, partnered with the Village Tree Board. As I come to the end of my internship, midsummer, I've taken upon myself to develop a potential capstone project that is detailed below. As this is a self-initiated project, I understand that this would be in addition to my duties at the Romeo DDA. In addition, this is unprecedented. The 4-County Community Foundation is intrigued by this proposition and are willing to support its endeavors. So any work for this event would be outside of my responsibilities that is being funded by the 4-County Foundation and the DDA. So the proposed event would be coordinated as a 50s themed event taking place on Saturday, July 9th. This is going to be the weekend before the Romeo and Juliet Garden Walk as well as the sidewalk sale. So this would be a perfect time to get out those advertising for those events. Included in this event would be classic cars, swing dancing in the street, caricature artists, pie eating competitions, and much more. Currently, I have tentatively, upon approval, secured DJ and dance instructor Susie Brecht. If you look at the little photo sheet down at the bottom, for those of you who do not know, in college I was part of the Ballroom and Latin Dance Club at Oakland University. So you can see our little team there, and Susie Brecht is right at the side. She has traveled internationally and has been dancing for over 30 years, ballroom competitions, all the like. But I also have support from Dale Wells from the Jack Frost Auto Museum to provide those classic cars. Coordinating an event like this would draw from several different communities that may not normally travel out to Romeo, as these types of events tend to be in more urban areas. If you've heard of any sorts of events in downtown Detroit, they have like a salsa night, and that draws a very large crowd. From looking at the Placer AI data that we collected, we know that we are pulling from communities from Lansing and from Ann Arbor, which at the picture, I have groups of the MSU swing dancing community, which is 1.2 thousand members, and then the Ann Arbor community that is 1.8 thousand members. Those are both college towns. And these college kids are coming home for the summer, and they don't really have that many opportunities to dance out in farmland. You know, you look out towards where I come from, Armada, there's no events out that way, Richmond, Port Huron, there is no dancing. And dancing is a great way to bring people together. Everyone can be dressed up in their 50s gear, poodle skirts, great photo opportunities, and there's movement downtown. Other than just, you know, walking downtown, you see people dancing, having fun, smiling. So attached to this are two potential event outlines that could be set in motion pending upon approval. The first is a smaller scale event centered around the village park, which is outline A. For outline A, I would be requesting a budget of $3,000, and included in that would be a closure of Rawls and the surrounding alleys. So this would be a little bit larger than our Arbor Day event, because we would need to use that street to have dancing, and it would be behind the businesses. So kind of that sort of general idea. Outlined below are some of the ideas that I have for events. So there would be a car show. That car show would have a raffle entry cost to help raise funds. This raffle would put in the vehicle owners for either People's Choice Awards, and then maybe like a portable record player, because those are becoming really popular again, with vinyls becoming popular again. And outline B, which is kind of the dreamers idea, I'm requesting a budget of $5,000, but would include a road closure temporarily of the entirety of Main Street to hold a classic car parade and possibly a costume parade, which is not in that line. After the parade, the closure of North Main to Newberry would remain closed, so that street would be used for swing dancing, and that would be right up against all of the businesses, so people could walk in and out, get food, finish there, walk on over, and jam. So I am asking for approval for one of these outlines and its coordinating budget, with all underlying organization spending to be approved by the executive director through the planning process. I welcome any questions that you may have. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I do have a question. This is a great breakdown of everything, Madison. In either event, would the timeline be the same? Do you envision this? Is this like a 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. all day event, or is this going to be kind of like a later afternoon event? And what would the backup option be for like a weather? Yeah, because that's always something we've struggled with in the past with like these one-day events.
Absolutely. So the timeline I'm thinking for both would be around the same in the evening. For the larger Main Street closure, I was thinking of maybe a 5 p.m. for parade. That would be the earliest for that. But the rest of the time would be scheduled fairly similarly to the Arbor Day event, around 3 p.m. until 9 p.m., with those later hours being taken up with swing dancing and coordinating lessons, because not everyone out here knows how to dance, and I think it would be fun. For a rain location, there is the possibility of Masonic Lodge. I have not reached out to them, but I know that they have been willing in the past to serve as a rain location. And then also with rain, while talking to Dale Wells, there would be the possibility of people with their cars not wanting to bring those out, because they put a lot of work into those and they don't want to get those rusty, which is, it makes sense. You put that money in, you don't want to get that out. So with the rain, it would be centered more around that swing event, as well as coordinating maybe vendors like Arbor Day. Does that answer?
It does. Yeah, I think from my perspective as a business owner, I would love to see a way to extend the hours of this. Make it start earlier in the day, even in the morning. That way, what we always saw that worked great with the Harvest Day event was that there was something going on in the morning for the kids, and then they could drop the kids off. Maybe the mom and dad come back out for a date night and kind of make a whole day out of it. And the problem with some of the events, with it being such a tight timeline, is that it might conflict with other people's schedules. If we have stuff going on from 10 a.m. until 10 o'clock at night, we can hit people's schedules. So I would like to see this event kind of be extended a little bit, if at all possible.
I think that would be your event.
I do.
I think that would be absolutely doable if we combine in the ideas of, say, a pie eating contest contest. That could be held around like lunchtime, for example. In the morning, could be kids' crafts, could be like, make your own little poodle skirt. I don't know, I'm just throwing these ideas out
Sure.
there. But that would be absolutely doable, and then people would be spending the entire day in Romeo if they had family, bring them in. And dancing is family friendly, since this would all be centered around like 50s music. That's not as explicit as today's music, so it would be good energy throughout for the entire family.
If you're going to do the car show, where are you thinking of putting the cars for the daytime when people look at them?
I was thinking that it would be the best to have them, if we're centering it around the village park, it would be good to have them lined up behind Rawls, like on the far side of Rawls, not butted up against the park. But since Dale Wells also owns the building on Rawls, the one next to the building that looks like a little firehouse, I don't know what.
Yeah,
It's
address
on
that
South
is.
Roll.
the old bowling alley. Yeah, I don't know
Okay,
that
that
building.
one.
Yeah.
I think that he would probably be willing to have a lot of the cars there, because that would also show off his available office spaces, as well as provide an area where people can go to that not many park for events.
Could they, did you envision, if we shut down Main Street, did you envision the cars being lined up on Main Street afterwards?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So
And
it would be
the swing
framing
dancing
wherever
would
the
be-
location is.
Gotcha, okay.
My initial thought, and I love the idea, and I love your enthusiasm, so however it vets out, I would probably support it, but my thought is to use the municipal lot behind Youngers in the office, close down that because it's already striped for parking. You would use the car show there, you would close off Lafayette and Rawls, and you could do your street dancing there. There was a great soundstage platform that Glenn had rented. I wanted to say it was from St. Clair, the last time that he threw a party, COVID, was that under maybe Peach Fest time? Anyway,
Right.
the municipality owned it, and he just had to sign up, and then they brought it here, and it didn't cost any additional money, so you could have a band stage, if you will, with the performer raised up, or a DJ, and that way you wouldn't have to worry about rerouting as much traffic if you used Lafayette and Rawls with that parking lot versus closing down Van
Main
Dyke.
Street, yeah.
Yeah.
Just my thought.
I think that that would be the best option. Because of the parking lines, everyone would be more organized, and it wouldn't be locking up
Right.
Rawls as much for those people who live in those houses.
Mm-hmm.
Could you get a 2-day suspension of tickets for overnight parking? Because that's overnight parking for the,
Yeah.
all the businesses on there.
So he's saying
It's
like-
not all
Oh, you mean
business.
as far as people who wouldn't be able to park there because of the
Right,
car
you
show?
just-
I'm sure we could work out something, yeah,
Give it
with
2
with
nights,
license
just tell
plates.
the
Mhm.
cops not to give anybody tickets for 2 nights.
Mhm.
And that would,
I'll add to what Christine just said, I guess. I mean, my preference always is closing Main Street. I know that's not always realistic for many reasons, especially if you're talking about sort of an all-day event. That being, I believe, not realistic, I like that idea, Christine, and the main reason would be if you can incorporate as many quadrants as you can. We kind of learned this in Winterfest, I think. We moved some things south that were originally going to be north, and then hopefully that helped spread as far as the businesses
Maybe including
in
the
those areas.
Village
So
Park.
possibly car show, as Christine says, but then maybe still utilize Village Park, whether it be the dancing part, the entertainment part, the stage, I don't know.
Kids' activities,
But
right.
instead of just picking, it's either gotta be here or it's gotta be there, maybe it can be both. And those locations are nice because you could get away without closing Main Street and still have a lot of square footage to put all the cars, all the stages, all the entertainment, what have you. So just a suggestion there, to try to make sure you spread it in as many quadrants as you can.
John, if you, I'm sure you have at some point or another going to a card show, even the one that they have in front of the TSC on Labor Day weekend will get somewhere between 80 to 100 cars, minimum of 60. That's more parking spots than there are in that lot. And
I don't think
Would-
Dale Wells has that many cars.
no, but if you're going to have other people,
other
if
people,
other
yeah.
people are
Yeah.
being said, bring your old cars, so you would need to spread them out, down both the north and south walls.
So,
What could,
So even better, then, more
Yeah, I mean,
spaces, more.
there's no reason you couldn't use both of them.
well,
well, what if you did the, because I know I know the 50s thing is the theme of the event, and that could be the main focus in the main area, but what if you had like different eras in like other quadrants, like John was saying, so you could kind of go, but maybe behind the Bailey Street parking lot, you've got like 60s and 70s, and then
Okay.
behind our place, you could have more like 80s, 90s, so it's kind of like I don't know, I know it might not fit exactly with your event, but that would kind of give people a reason to walk.
so I guess
Because I agree with John, spreading it out is,
Yeah. I
what
think
I'm hearing is you guys like the
love
idea.
the event.
Let her fine tune this,
Yeah.
but we need to give
How
her
much
a
do we wanna
budget.
give her?
Yeah.
If I may,
Yes.
since she's my intern, if it's going to be expanded beyond a 4-hour time limit, her budget's not enough. And I know she'll get sponsorships, and I'm sure we'll get people coming in, but expanding it to a much longer time period, and since it's summer, that's going to require some extra help. That's probably going to cost something. So I think expanding what she's asking for, if you want to make it an all-day event and expanding it into all quadrants, that would be my suggestion, just because I know how much time I individually put into Winterfest, and then also of my volunteers, not knowing who's going to be completely busy, with school getting out and whatnot. So that would be my suggestion, so that she's doing this completely on a voluntary basis outside of her hours with the DDA. So I want to make sure she's not stretched as thin as I was, and I'll be gone a part of that time too. So that's just my suggestion. Is consider the amount is not enough, in my opinion, based on what you're requesting or suggesting.
could we approve an initial budget, and then if there's overages or additional expenditures need to be made depending on the sponsorship levels you're able to get, can, come back to us and say, here's where we're at, we need an additional 2,000 to, if you want to make this a bigger event? Because I think from a DDA standpoint, what's beneficial to the businesses is making, and if we're gonna take on an event like this, it should last
Yeah.
for more
it's-
than just a few
It's clear
hours.
the businesses have profited a lot from Winterfest and Arbor Day. I mean, I think that they should see the value in it, and maybe even getting some sponsorships. But yeah, let's approve a budget. And
All right, I'm going to make a motion with her outline B for $5,000.
I'd second that.
Roll call, Elizabeth?
Okay. Motion by Stevens, support by Tar.
Yes.
Okay. Tar,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes?
Brandt,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay.
Very nice presentation, Madison.
Thank you.
You are enthusiastic, and I can tell you're in acting.
Well, you all also have my theater.
I saw
resume
that.
if you wanna take a look.
The,
Madison, let me just throw out there real fast that if you are going to close down the street, you will need to come before Village Council for a street closure. And if it's Main Street, it has to go before the county, so sooner rather than later
Okay.
would be great. So narrow down your
Or maybe
location
take
and
a
then,
look at her planning now.
Yeah.
where-
We'll work on an outline later this week, and we'll work within even our events committee too. So if any of you board members, especially those of you who are business owners, have some thoughts on this, it would be really imperative if you can be part of that event committee for these specific meetings. For the input would be really helpful. So thank you for supporting her project.
Thank you all.
Yep, you're welcome.
My one thought is, based on these events,
Pardon?
my one thought is, based on these events that have been happening so far, starting with Winterfest and what it grew to, and then Arborfest, and now the talk here, I think this card is wrong. It says small town, big heart. I think it needs to be small town, big events.
Well, I already have, 1,000 of those printed, so we're going to go.
we got some Sharpie markers, John, you can write it on there, right? Yeah.
Okay,
Good job. She might sock hop out of here, I'm not sure, but nicely
committee
done.
reports. I don't think we have a policy report. We don't.
I don't think so.
Nope. Parking study?
Do you guys want me to take the lead on that?
Yeah, it's been a while since our last meeting. Go ahead.
I'm fine with going agenda if you.
Okay, so the members of the parking the parking committee, we decided to maybe look at this in different phases. And the first phase, which is, we thought would be relatively simple, and it took almost 6 weeks of phone tag between the state police, the county, MDOT. I mean, it was ridiculous. We've got the word that, as you can see in my notes, that since when M53 was created, back whenever they did that, the jurisdiction switched from the state to the local level, and then the county said, since it's in the village, and technically you can't have parking on county roads, but obviously we do because it's a downtown. And so I got them to send me an email so we have it in writing that yes, we can change the parking signs downtown. So it really needs to go before village council, and I believe the police chief will have to be consulted on that to find out. My recommendations, and I know John had some concerns about that, so it's good. If you see the next couple pictures, or see the pictures that I took there with my very fancy handwriting, you can't read any of the signs downtown. You can't tell that it actually says 3-hour parking. The do not enter sign, and that's a side street, so that would be phase 2, but you can't even see some of the signs that say do not enter. I mean, it's really dangerous, and it doesn't look good for our downtown for sure. So what I put on the sheets, as you can see, I'm requesting 10 2-hour signs that would replace our 3-hour signs, 6 15-minute signs. That would only be, and the logic behind that is it would only be in the quadrants that had, Zach, you might remember, I think anything over 7 spots.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact the amount of spots that we set that at, but just to kind of speak on that, it wasn't just an arbitrary number. We looked at how many spots were on each quadrant of parking, whether it's the north side there. We were basing those caps with the 15-minute parking based on how many spots were available. So if there were only, you'll see, like over by like People Driven's credit union, there's only 3 spots in that little space. You wouldn't put a 15-minute parking sign there. It just wouldn't make sense. So there was a method to the madness, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you see in the northwest quadrant, in front of where John's shop is, there's 11 spots there. So doing 1 on each end there. Across the street, we wouldn't put any, where you see 5, which is on the Chamber side. Then you go down to the southwest quadrant, there's 11 spots, doing 2 there. And then on the southeast quadrant, doing 2 there. So that's where your 6 are. So that's the recommendation. 2 hours, I think, on Main Street is plenty of time, but it's up to you all. And then I think it does, as Christine and I talked about in the office, it needs to go before Village Council for approval, but it needs to start with you all for recommendation first. And then the other one, of course, is where I have in my photos requesting the village to change that alleyway between the Chamber, I'm calling it the Chamber Barn for lack of another way to say it, and the Buscemi's. That is not a one-way. Many people think it is, but it's not.
No,
So
it's not.
it would be really nice to change that to a one-way and have do not enter signs to make things make more sense. And then the third, the last sheet that came from Mike Romano from Tech City is, doing a one-way back there. That I'm not asking for that to be approved today, nor am I asking actually for the one-way, but these are just things that would be nice to get moving on. They're low cost. The signs don't cost a lot of money. If we can work with the village, if the village installs them and doesn't charge us to install them since they're village signs, I think there's funding in there now that we could pay for the signs themselves.
The one-way sign behind the barn should be put up because of the closure of the alley.
I would agree.
Because two-way traffic in there is horrible. So if they could ingress and then leave across on Bailey.
So thoughts on that?
You're making it one way into Buscemi's or out of Buscemi's?
Into. So entering
Okay.
from
Yeah.
entering from Newberry would be one way going in. So that would be going south into that alleyway right there. That would also make, if the alley gets closed for temporarily, it would just make it flow better. And we don't want to see another tragedy like what happened next to Ace Hardware. We don't want a tragedy to dictate policy and change, right? We want to get ahead of that, in my opinion.
So are you asking for this first phase of signage?
For
Or to
first
go before
phase,
council, or?
yes. And in addition to changing the one-way sign for Douglas, behind the Douglas house. But wondering what you all think about
So
that.
my only input, which I had actually sent, I think, to the, I don't know if I sent it to the committee, whole committee, or just Elizabeth, but, and I was on the committee, and not till I really thought about it a little bit more, and to be honest with you, spoke to some other people about this. The number 15 minutes, if that's the right number. If it should be a little longer is sort of, I guess, where I'm kind of thinking, is 15 minutes enough? Or do what you need to do? I mean,
Well, it
those
depends
spots
on what we're trying to
will
accomplish.
remain never used if there's no reason to park there for 15 minutes or less.
Well, to be perfectly honest, there's no way to enforce that, right? So if it's 20 minutes, no one's going to be hooking up a tow truck to it. The idea is to let people know this is a quick in and out, right?
Right.
And if John Rose, when you walk into the coffee shop, is talking to them for 2 hours, they should probably move their car.
Or don't talk to me.
Or don't talk to you, right?
What you're telling me is my service is too slow.
No, not at all. But
You're
sometimes
too
there's a
friendly, they
line,
wanna stay and
right?
talk.
Sometimes you have so many, it's a line, it's a wait. And
I
so,
just-
I mean, that's understandable,
I
right?
just put that out there, even
Yeah.
though we discussed 15 minutes in our committee, because I did have a couple people
Mm-hmm.
mention to me, 15 isn't very long, where are you going to go for 15 minutes? Even the bank, sometimes you're in line for, by the time you're in and out of there, so.
Do you feel that
I
number
think
would
the
hurt?
15 minutes is to run into your store, grab something, run into yours, grab something, run in.
John's right.
I don't wanna hurt-
15 minutes
I-
is incredibly short.
I don't want to hurt the
period of time.
business that's in front of that space is in front of.
Well, let's make it 30,
I mean-
20. I mean, you can make the signs whatever number. You could say 22 minutes if you wanted to. I mean, it doesn't have to be the 15. It just happened to be,
Huh? 30?
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
so.
You're afraid
Yeah,
it's
nobody's-
Is 30
you're not
too
gonna have
long,
somebody
though?
enforce
how about
I feel like
20?
30 is too long.
Yeah.
20? We see 20 in
I
all
say-
kinds of metro
I feel like
areas.
20 is
minutes.
probably the good amount, because you think you're gonna be 15, and it gives you that 5 minutes of wiggle room, and if you're 25,
Yeah, then it's
oh
just-
well, yeah.
And
say
for now, I'm sure there's not 5,000 people watching this video tonight, but, we don't have enforcement for now, right? So, but what it does is it gives people who are coming in, that most people respect the parking
They're being
signs.
conscious of where they're
Yes.
parking at that point.
Which is
as
Correct.
why I
opposed
don't
to
want to
just-
discourage, that spot's never going to be used because there's nothing you can accomplish in 15
Oh, it'll be used by me for sure.
No, I understand. So are you looking for what else do we have to do on this?
So I guess what I'm looking for is approval to proceed with phase 1 for the signage as listed, in addition to requesting the one-way traffic to go before Village Council.
Village council?
But we don't yet know a monetary amount. I mean, obviously, we know that there's going to be labor involved on the DPW to install them, and I don't know if Tim has really said, most of these areas already have the posts, so literally, it's just unscrewing and screwing back in the new,
Right, there's a few that have to be added, because believe it or not, there's one quadrant that doesn't have any
right. But,
parking signs.
but do we know how much the actual signs are going to cost?
Yeah, they're between $30 and $50 a sign.
Okay.
They're in the southwest quadrant,
Mm-hmm.
southwest quadrant, yeah, there's a large area that's deliberately not marked.
Why?
Period.
Why is that? Do you know why that is?
Yeah, because it's privately owned.
No, we're talking about the street.
Okay, I just,
This is just street parking.
I just want to make sure there wasn't, because it's labeled.
Oh, no, this is just Main Street parking.
This
That's
is-
why it's phase
because
1.
and notice in the drawing, it's labeled village and it's not village, but that's okay too.
Oh, no, in the drawing, the ones that are highlighted, that are only on Main Street, and I know this is a bad copy, I need
No,
some work on my
just-
printer, but it's only Main Street, period. That's it, what we're talking about right now.
And I just see it and say, no, what you don't understand is that what looks like village property is not village property.
So just to be clear, not only Main Street, because there's Rawls involved and Newberry involved.
No.
Just street.
No, so if you look at the drawing, and if you see where there's 11 spots and
Right, okay.
11, 5,
So these
11,
signs will
9.
only fill those.
This is
Main Street.
only Main Street,
Okay,
which is a county road.
yep.
That's it. I'm not trying to change any other signs other than seeking a one-way behind the Douglas house.
Well, there would be two one-ways, right? So you're gonna post a new one-way outside of MI Junks because it's faded and you can't read it.
Well, it depends on what happens later on in our agenda, but that one's
Okay.
not faded there.
Oh, it's not?
No,
Okay.
that's a
I
different-
thought I saw that identified in the pictures.
Okay,
No.
do we need a
That
motion to
was-
have Elizabeth go before council for the Phase 1 parking signage request?
And so is that with the village council paying for the actual signs and the install, or is that the DDA paying something?
No, I'm recommending this one be a cost share. I think that, this is improving the downtown businesses. I think this, in my opinion, I think some of this cost should come from the DDA, but the installation, I feel should be the village's
So
responsibility.
how many signs in total are we talking about?
That's a good question, Bill. So I have 10 for the 2-hour signs, 6 for the now 20-minute, and 3, well, there's a couple no parking ones that are completely faded. So that's 19, and then you'd have a few for the one-ways and do not enters.
So even at $50 a sign, you're at 19 signs, you're still under $1,000.
19, 22, yeah.
And if
20,
50's the
mhm.
high end.
Mhm.
so maybe-
Yes, it is the high end, correct, yeah.
950.
With the, would that be, and I'm not saying that that's with the addition of doing the one-way behind
No,
the
I don't know
Douglas
what the
House?
one-ways are.
No, not the cost. I'm saying if there was a
Yes.
motion, okay.
Okay, so what was the motion? I'm sorry.
Motion to proceed, I'll
Elizabeth,
reword this, but yes, for
For
the director
Elizabeth.
to seek village approval for Phase 1 to also include a one-way behind the Douglas House.
So we're not approving any money right now?
In an amount not to exceed $1,000.
okay.
How's that?
Yep.
That's perfect.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I thought Kelly made that
I made
motion.
the motion, somebody needs to
Second.
second.
So Stevens, support with, by whom?
Tar.
Tar.
Okay. Okay.
Do we have to do roll call?
You ready? Okay.
Yep.
Tar?
Yes.
Malzahn?
Yes?
Brandt?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Okay, all right, awesome. Thanks for
Okay.
this, and thank you for the committee's work on that. It is a lot of work, and some of the other stuff we're trying to do it's gonna take a little longer to do, so this will be
That's-
faster. This should be done by Peach Fest, which will be nice.
Thank you for doing, Elizabeth.
Mhm.
I went above and beyond, and that's fantastic. We have a fantastic DPW, but I would think some of the traffic signs and updating and freshening them up would be sort of a routine maintenance thing out there, so thank you for taking the
think so.
initiative. And we'll move forward. That's good stuff.
Well, now that I know how to work this projector, wait till you see the pictures I've taken of some of the other ones, but that's not gonna be today.
Okay,
All right,
unfinished
thank you.
business, website development.
Okay, so unfortunately, once again, we do not have our developer here for circumstances beyond his control. But lucky for me, I should say, I know how to work this thing. So we're going to see if we can get it going. He sent me the video that's attached to our new website, and I was able to download it. So I'll play that once I show you the first page. The website is password protected at the moment, and if any of you want it, I'll give it to you if you don't share it with anybody else. But we're hoping, there's a few other tweaks. Madison and I worked remotely today, and it worked really well. And so we went through every single page and caught little errors or said, oh, we need this. And I think you'll be really pleased. So give me a quick second. If anybody wants to stand up and stretch for a couple minutes while I get this set up, and we'll go from there.
Greg, if you want to roll your chair over.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
Still seeing fuzzies.
Oh, is it from being blinded by my
Just
light?
a little retina.
I'm so sorry.
It'll go away.
Greg, you're bleeding.
He was talking about the glare off my
I'm
head.
learning. I've told my kids since they were little, the day I stop learning is the day I die, so.
Did you know Jen Cassery passed away yesterday?
No, we had her.
102. She was 102.
Yeah, I thought she was 103.
No, she just turned 102. But that's terrible life at the end, though.
Froze up for a second. Feel like we should have like ballroom music for a second. Elevator
Is his
music,
daughter
right?
gonna do anything?
Kim?
Okay.
I don't know if they're gonna do a funeral or anything. I know she was here.
That's because they called her and told her she had to come.
We're on camera.
And your
She was in a
microphones are
dog
on.
show down in Kentucky.
I know.
All right, it's just warmed up, so give us a second. Thank you.
Next question is, do I care who I offend?
You, Bill? No. I've known you for way too long.
No, you've enjoyed every minute of it.
All right, it's waking up, come on. Oh, thank you. All right. What did we do before? It's all plugged in. Oh, is it warming up? Okay. Oh, that's right, yeah, go to the source. And it's the C. Back to C, okay, perfect. All right.
Should we turn the lights off?
Yes, yeah, she'll be there in just a second. Okay, so what you're about to see is the video that will play when you first open the website. And at the moment, it actually works better on a mobile device, believe it or not. And the audio is going to come off of my computer. Downtown Romeo, small town, big heart.
Small town, big heart.
Small town, big heart.
Small town, big heart.
So that doesn't make you tear up just a little bit. So that's our video. It opens up. People have the option of turning their audio on or not with that. And that Sean did all of that video. So what do you guys think?
That's great. Nice.
Okay, so this is the website. So that will just play, and then as you see at the top here, when you hit this always will just take you back to the home page up here by clicking on our logo. Experience Romeo. We use a drop down that shows what's happening next, the news, the gallery. I'm not going to load the gallery because there's just I'll load. Actually, I have to because it's just so good. We had the privilege of being able to use Cinda's photography, and so she's doing all of this, again, not charging us anything. These were just some pictures that were on, I think they were on our Facebook page maybe, and maybe some of you took some of these pictures, so that's some there. And this could roll through like a regular, if you click on one, it could just forward to the next picture and whatnot, but right now they're in a tile form. These are the pictures by Cinda Shevrovich right here. And then as we move down, you continue to see more building pictures, and then you keep on going. And I'm going to catch up here for a second. He put these on, which I think was really neat, to include some of our historic homes within the village. And then what's wonderful down here is she just did a phenomenal job of capturing people in downtown, which is just beautiful, just really, really nicely done. My old neighbors are in there, which is nice. Just captures, it captures all of our plantings and tree signage and shops. And there's a great picture in here of Zach somewhere in front of the storefront. I'm not sure if it's on here or another page. So this is just showing basically experiencing Romeo, right? We're creating experience for people. Right here, the downtown news. Clicking on that, you'll see articles that are in various papers or and whatnot, news and happenings. So Chalk the Walk is happening right now. Here's a history of Arbor Day. This one needs a little bit of work, so we're working on that one. And like this one says it's about to begin. It's not about to. It's already happened, obviously. So I've got Madison on. That's one of her tasks is writing like a 2 to 3 paragraph section on each of these. The Polar Express, and then what he's also talking about. And this is where it's so great. And by the way, he severely undercharged us for this. He's not trying to get any more for this, but we have got a phenomenal website, in my opinion, especially considering what we spent on this. One of the things that he says with this is the more content you have for each event, what that does in Google world is it forces more people to your website the more words you have in. So for instance, Kelly, if you give us 2 to 3 paragraphs of like some of your chamber events that we backfill these past events, that's what's going to happen. It's going to drive more traffic to our page, which then does what? Drives more traffic into our businesses. So any questions about those 3 sections up here? And then, and what's happening next, there's the calendar's on there, and it's clickable and all of that. So that's on there. I was already on there. Oh yes, I'm sorry, here's the calendar. So we're gonna be building this out, and the events calendar that's in our board packet later on. And once you click on this, it would then feed, so for instance, you would see the chamber event that's coming up, Net Into the Stars would be under the next tab. So any questions in that first section? I'm not going to go through every one of these, don't worry, because there's 26 pages here, so it would take us quite a while. But let's just look at the dining one real quick. These are all in tile format, and then when you scroll over it, the name pops out at you, and then when you click on it, and I don't know, it doesn't really take this long in normal circumstances, but
The Wi-Fi's really bad in here.
yeah,
So
that's all right. So here's what
God bless
happens.
you.
So you scroll up and you see these restaurants, right? So let's just, since John's here, we'll click on Main Street Coffee House. And when we get to the business section, he did a really great job of building out some things. So you scroll up, you see there's a little ditty about them, right? And then there's all these pictures that just shows, and these can be changed anytime. And then here's the website right here. Phone number, address, all that kind of stuff. So going to the website will then tell people what their hours are and whatnot. There's some things that we could have as functions, but if we have too much, it's going to become quite a project to keep all that. So it's one thing to keep the events up, it's another to say, well, could you have this featured on there or whatnot. So any questions on that?
Julie before surgery.
So then, our downtown businesses are separated into 3 categories: dining, shopping, and our service-based businesses. For business over here, so if you are, let's say, Fans Printing wants to update, they see something wrong, or maybe they move. So this might be a good example of this would be the massage place, Mother Earth Spa. She just moved, right? So she would see on here like, oh wait, that's not my current location. So you go on here and you just fill this out to get your business listing updated.
How did we pick 3 o'clock on the clock?
I don't know. Don't know. This is a spot for somebody to submit your event. So for example, if Youngers wanted to submit all their concerts they have coming up, we can put that on the calendar as well. But this makes this less labor intensive for staff by them having to submit it right here.
Elizabeth, remind me of this, when you say staff, who's doing all this?
Well, myself or currently Madison. I'm just saying, instead of saying just one person, I mean, there might be a volunteer help.
But what she's saying on this
or it's
is
going to
the
Sean.
business owner can go and put this on.
The business owner enters the information, it comes to us or Sean,
Oh,
where
and then you
it
have
comes
to-
within,
okay.
right, and then it gets added to the website,
Yeah.
right?
What
Instead
about-
of it being an email, and you have to figure out how to copy and paste it somewhere.
What about not events or anything like this? What about just the maintenance in general? Who's doing that work?
The web developer,
Sean, at this
Mhm.
moment?
correct, yep. And that's included in the cost and it starts effective this month for the next 12 months.
For 12 months, after
Mhm.
12 months to be determined? That's-
Per the contract, it was $100 a month. After 1 year. Mhm.
So if I change my phone number, this is gonna go to Sean to do.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that yet, because this isn't live yet. So it may take it directly to him, or it may take it to me. I don't have login privileges to this yet, but I will. So this is something I could change at some point.
So do we have
But
the
I-
section with all the facade grants, the
Yep.
sign grant?
Yep, so let me kind of move through here. So there's an incentive program page, there's an upcoming projects page, so that would be upcoming projects. So here's right there. There's the facade, there's an event, the event program, and now that I know that we have a sign one, the sign one can get added to here as well. So again, this is just the business section, and a lot of DDAs that do a really good job with their downtown businesses have these different supports within the website. And potential businesses as well, looking to say, wow, they really have it together, maybe we should open up a shop there.
And we'll have our minutes and everything like that posted?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
getting there. That's gonna be under the About Us. The central business right here, this does not have our map, but it will have our map, right here, so people can see, oh, that's where so this is obviously not us. This is another business. Also, under the business tab, I'm not gonna click on it just to save time, but there's a spot on there, where if you have a property for sale or for rent, you can submit it here, so it's listed here as well. Downtown Merchant Resources, this is a space where several other DDAs that have thriving downtowns have a section where how to do Instagram well, how to do other social media as well, how do you do this? So there's just they're just links taking you somewhere else. It's not for us doing the work for them, it's just giving them some support. Under the Get Involved, this is a spot for volunteers who, if they were interested in helping and getting involved, they can sign up here. Again, this is making it the functions within the office work more efficiently and effectively, because there's a lot of moving parts on on a daily basis. Here, if someone wanted to upload, if you are looking for work, employees, they could there's a help wanted section on here. Clubs and organizations, that is primarily for, Madison was working on this today, and I know we don't have it up here yet, but that's a section for hyperlinks for all these different organizations. So the Historical Society, Starkweather, it's Romeo and Juliet Garden Club, Friends of the Library, River of God, and so on. So that's right. Those will be linked, so it'll just take them straight to there. We might have Sean would love for them to have a tile, so they might be one picture, and then it would take you to their website. Under the About Us, what is a DDA? That is going to say, this is what the function of a downtown development authority is, because there actually has a purpose, right? Now you're all ready. For those of you who have your pictures taken, you're about to go public. Bam, there it is, your Romeo DDA board. And so there's a few spots there that are empty, and they can stay that way if you want. And then down here, there's me, but it's really big, I don't know why. So Madison's gonna come down here, so she'll be next here with me, obviously, down here. And then as you click on it, so let's just click on Greg. And that says, Greg Tarr is a DDA board member and the owner of Tarr Financial in downtown Romeo. There is his email and his phone number. Or actually, yes, that's not my phone number, that must be your phone number. I'm looking at it going, it's awfully close to the DDA. So that's what that shows under there about us. Then DDA key information. This is where all of our bylaws, budgets, minutes, there's also PA 57 requirements. That will all be under this section. Then our master plan, the full entire document is on here. Whereas our old website couldn't even support one page. So someone could click on here and get the full version of this electronically. As per PA 57. And then this one's just a fun little Romeo history. This came right off of our old website with just some updated information. The heritage, just showing, sorry, I'm going a little fast here. Indian Village, the Hoxie Settlement, railroad completed. Whoops. You can see my daughter in the background. Whoops. Okay. And just future. So it's just kind of a fun little timeline that you can see about the history of the village. And I think we've got just two left here. So community resources, this is for external, outside of maybe the downtown area. So this would be a spot for our police, our library, our chamber. Eventually we'll have parking section in there, some places of worship, Washington Township, Bruce Township, and so on would be listed right under here. And then, last but not least, of course, contact us. There's a spot on the bottom of the website, so you can see where you can send us a message right here that shows the regular hours and the website, and then there's also built into this how people can sign up for a newsletter. So, what do you guys think?
That's good. When does it go live?
We're thinking at the end of the week.
Okay.
The end of the week, and you'll get notice on that, and of course it'll be all over. We'll promote it through social media and whatnot. So contact us is up here, and somewhere on here there'll be like the little Facebook and Instagram icons and whatnot too will be there as well. And if you go back home, since it's been talked about for so long, and John, you won the snowman, so part of that first prize was being featured, right? And so you are on the bottom of this, right? Down here. Well, it's just trying to load that video. So it'll be down there, and then there should be like the calendar icon should be down there as well. So, any other questions on that?
No.
I thought for sure you guys would be like oohing and ahhing over this or something.
Should have done it first
Great.
in the meeting. We're
I know, I'm tired.
we're too far down the agenda
Yeah.
to get excited
I
at this
hear
point.
you. That's okay, no problem. We just unplug this so we don't get blind drink anymore. So, any questions or concerns on it? Is there anything you don't like that you want changed?
The only thing I would say is my only concern would be the loading of that video. If that tends to slow people down, we don't want people navigating away
Absolutely.
because they hit that video in our.
And that's
It's
mainly
loading.
right here. It's at home, it doesn't do that. At work,
Okay.
it doesn't do that. If you go on if you look at it from a mobile version, I mean, it's
fine.
right there. We watched it, yeah, it pops up. And by the way, the mobile version of the website's beautifully done too. So you wouldn't even need an app for it really, because it's pretty well, nicely done.
Thank you for
Great.
the presentation. It looks great. Okay, DDA events calendar. She's included the year outline and is looking to a motion to approve the 22 events calendar as presented.
I think we just have to add Madison's event to that.
Yes.
And homecoming is not on there either,
Oh,
because there's usually a parade in the park and, so I don't know
We
what
don't
the
know when.
date is, October
Yeah.
usually, but,
Are we doing the pet parade?
well, that's why I put in my background notes that it says, some of them may not come to fruition, but we can make these as we move through. It gives me the parameters of which to create some things. Who knows? Maybe with you guys wanting, her event turning into an all-day thing, maybe it makes sense to have it on the same day. I don't know. Might be fun to see my poodle dressed in a poodle skirt.
the only other thing, and I know that there's quite a few Parks and Recs event, but I would like to see the concerts in the park put on here, because they're Sundays in the park.
I think it
Yes,
was on
actually,
there,
I do
wasn't it?
have it. I have it summer music in the park under June, where it says Sundays starting with a question mark, because I didn't have those dates just yet. So yes, absolutely.
It's in their last brochure, so if you look
Okay.
on their website, you should be able to look up those dates. I don't know what they are either, but it
We
will
would
tell you
definitely have that as
who's
part of it, for
contracted,
sure.
yeah.
Are you thinking this farmer's market thing is a realistic option for this year? Do you want, because I see in the notes it says maybe better for 2023.
Yeah, so again, depending on what happens under 11A, under new business, I think for August, if the alley closure goes through, the temporary one, that might be a spot just to have a soft opening, maybe a couple weekends, just seeing if there's some, for me, I would put it there. I think the Village Park is it's too far off the beaten path for that specific type of an event, so I think it might be. So again, some of these may not come to fruition. What this does is this just gives Madison and I, or whoever, if I have an admin person after her, if it's not her, it just gives us the ability to have flexibility without constantly coming back to you asking for permission for every little thing. It just, because again, when you have volunteers, they don't want to wait for 2.5 weeks to see if they can help volunteer for something. They're ready now, right? So that, it just gives me a little bit more flexibility.
My concern with that particular event is that they're trying to kick that off also in Frontier Town.
Oh, okay.
And there just may not be enough vendors
Sure.
to go between the two, so.
Yeah, and I might not even be able to,
Yeah.
to,
I
to
was
do
gonna
it this
say,
year.
maybe something to take off your plate for this
Yeah,
year.
for sure, yeah.
So I'm gonna make a motion to approve the 2022 events calendar as presented.
Do you want the addition though, with
What was the addition?
the cart parade,
Oh, Madison's event,
Right.
yep.
7-9?
Listing those other couple of things, homecoming and.
With the swing event and homecoming. Yes?
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay.
Mhm.
I'll second.
Okay, second by B. Hayes. Okay. Is that just going to be, what kind of
All
vote?
in favor.
There's no money attached to
No,
that, so.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. That will definitely make things run more smoothly.
Crosswalk presentation.
Do you want me to take this one?
Sure, and I have the boards over there too, just for, a little bit.
Vanna White
Yeah, yeah.
moment,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So, as we talked about many times before, but still getting closer and closer, our pedestrian crosswalk projects are on the go. We knew that there would be a little bit of cost increase due to, supply chain issues and the cost in rising in labor and materials. We're waiting to get those bids. Those bids should be opened, I believe May 6th was the deadline, so I don't know if we'll get the report the end of this week or the beginning of next week. There is a little out in the contract that if those bids come in 10% more than the engineer's estimates, then the village has the right to then say, we can't afford the project anymore and walk away. I don't anticipate that happening, but I just want you to know that that's an option. One of the things that was not included in that original bid packet was some additional work that the road commission was making us do. And I think we talked about it at this board level, but I may be confusing village council. Because the light at the four corners, there's gonna be a traffic shift when the main
was at
intersection
council.
is done.
Yeah.
They wanted us to actually restring a whole new light, which was gonna be about $40,000, literally for 2 weeks. So I reached out to JP, and we sort of put the pressure on Mark Hackle to like, hey, you have to help us with this, right? This is like 2 weeks. This is going to put us over and above what we really had anticipated expending. And so we did hear from Adam Merchant, the traffic engineer of the Macomb County Department of Roads, and they are working with us. They're reducing it to about $14,000 from the 40, and that's using their contractor and their electricians. So that's going to be a huge aid to us. Still an unanticipated expense, but so what they're looking at doing is doing the bulk of the work at that intersection on a Sunday, rerouting traffic. So we still have to put some temporary lights, but we're thinking Sunday is the lesser amount of traffic that we have going through town. So hopefully that'll be a light traffic flow day. We'll reroute the cars, and then things will be back to normal. So that's all good things. Unfortunately, we have that extra expense, but I think they really went to bat for us and are helping us financially. So we're just going to wait to get those bids opened and then report back to council. Hopefully on May 16th, we'll get final approval of the project when we see those numbers, and including this 14,000. So the timeline still has not changed. They're thinking that construction, would begin the bids, obviously May. We're going to get the contractor in line, so they're going to start probably around July, maybe the end of June, and be done by the end of July. It's really slated to be a 4 to 6 week project. They know they have to be done by Labor Day, so.
This would be screwing up anything planned for the summer downtown.
So maybe moving the
I was gonna say
our
that's
new event to
Sunday.
Rawls and Bailey may have to take place there, because you're right, we didn't anticipate
Yeah,
the
we
construction.
can work through that that's
What-
coming up next week, so
Why
we'll
don't
figure
we-
that out.
why don't
Absolutely.
we make that event on that Sunday, and then the street's already closed, and we're rerouting traffic.
Right,
We don't have to
exactly.
close-
Just the intersection, not the street, as they reroute. But it will be a slow progression through town. They're gonna just sort of work, I don't know, the two most problematic intersections, they're gonna take the longest, so I think they're gonna get that first, which will be Newberry outside of the Masonic Temple, because that needed a lot of realignment with that janky different sidewalks.
So I think that's where they're gonna start. So I'm assuming they're gonna then proceed south, but I don't know that for a fact. So we'll try and get all that in line.
With the cost increase, we are still committed to a certain amount, correct?
Based on last month's motion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But depending on what those numbers are, if we have to come back and ask for an amendment, that's what we will. We don't know. We don't know what they are. I'm hoping that they're gonna come in less, but so say a prayer between now and then, and yeah, once I get that report, we'll have to just figure out the best way to get it done.
Okay.
And I have to say, kudos to Christine for pursuing this, and I think that's one of the benefits of the collaboration between the village office and the DDA office is, being at some of these different chamber events, being at some Macomb events, building the relationships with the Macomb economic development team. I mean, they start hearing, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, right, yeah, I talked to you about such and such." And so the branches and the roots that were, no pun intended, from Arbor Day, but the roots are growing stronger and deeper with the connections that we're working with between the village office and the DDA. So when they heard that and they see what we're trying to do down there, they were more apt to listen to, we can't afford this. Okay, let's see what we can do. Whereas, a month before that? No, sorry, that's just the cost that it is. So we owe a lot of thanks to Christine for doing it. That was a lot of work. It was a lot of hard work to get that amount reduced. So
Thank you. As part of that final package, I should mention, because there was some stuff on social media that, maybe not have been really representative of what material that we're using and what the actual costs were. In all of the approvals that Village Council did, all of those numbers were accounted for, the engineering and the additional application fees. But Elizabeth and I are forming a report so that we can literally just spell that out and reference back those different approvals so that everybody can see that it was all up and up and have a great idea of where we're spending our money. But the majority of it is becoming ADA compliant. Right, the majority of it is the curb and gutter and the ADA mats that are going in there. So it's not necessarily the product on the asphalt that's what's generating the biggest cost. Mm-hmm. One other caveat that I should throw in there, because the Village Council approved a business district for the central business district, the DDA boundaries, asking the road commission through an old codified law, on the traffic law, to reduce the speed limit to 25 miles an hour. So I recently followed up on that. Again, going through channels at the Road Commission is like really some sort of weird roadmap, but ultimately the decision to repost speed limit signs came down to Lieutenant Locke from the Michigan State Police, which is who Elizabeth talked to for the parking, and he said, well, there's a caveat in that law that says, yes, the business district can be designated as 25 miles an hour, but a traffic study supersedes that. And I said, well, when was the last traffic study done? He had no idea. I said, okay, well, maybe we need to do another one, especially since we're doing the pedestrian crosswalk project. We really want to slow down traffic so that people who are in the crosswalks, and cars are really recognizing that. And he said, oh, well, if you're doing a project, that's great, but we can't reduce the speed limit or do a traffic study until your project is done. So after you remove the last construction sign, right, and everything's all done, then they'll come and do a traffic study. They'll also do a pedestrian count study, so that if we did want to get the flashy lights that are going in the pedestrian crosswalks, that can be done at the same time. But unfortunately, which makes no sense to me, it all has to be done after the project is completed. So I don't make the rules, just telling you what we have to follow.
Okay.
And I'll add, this isn't something I've shared yet, and I will, because it's an important. I was out driving one day a week and a half ago, and I was coming around the backside of Four Corners, so whatever street that is, on 32, and there was a woman who was crossing 32 Mile with a walker right across from Four Corners Diner and the River of God. I mean, I was waiting, not waiting, but it was dangerous. It was really dangerous. And we can't get those, in my opinion, we can't get those crosswalks in fast enough. Yes, there can be a false sense of security, but yet having that visual there is going to be really advantageous.
Mm-hmm. I was walking across from the village office to go to Arbor Day after parking the municipal vehicle, and I was waiting there. There's a line of traffic going eastbound, and there happened to be a gentleman standing on the corner with me, and as traffic came to a stop, so we're walking in between the cars to sort of cross the road, and he went, geez, there should be a crosswalk here. And I went, matter of fact, the one's coming, this very intersection, so I thought that was good timing.
Okay. 2022, 2023 budget. We held 2 workshops. The Employment Committee made some recommendations.
Do you want me to take that for just
Sure.
just a quick
Sure.
second?
Yep.
So there was a little bit of miscommunication, and so we apologize that John was serving on that committee, and there was supposed to be a meeting, and I had a conflict, but then my meeting got canceled, and so we had a meeting, and I don't know if it didn't conveyed right, but.
It didn't,
but-
and that's my fault.
Right, but Kelly, myself, and Elizabeth Kellogg met, and we reviewed especially the salary for our executive director and our intern. And we really looked at a lot of factors. Obviously, the outstanding job performance is what we're looking at. You know, we all went into this knowing that we needed somebody to right the ship, right? And we set goals and objectives, and I don't think anybody has suggested for a second that those haven't all been met, while there's still a few that perhaps should be done or tidied up efficiently. Not only have that initial set of goals and objectives been achieved, there's many other things tasks that were taken on, and many things that none of us anticipated needing to take on. The finances, right? The municipal accounting system and how we needed to be, brought into compliance. I don't think any of that was on anybody's radar, and we certainly do see the benefit from all of that. So with that said, we met and thought that it was fair to do a couple things. One, we see an area where we need to probably have a better understanding of what are the terms of employment, if you will, right? Is there vacation? Is there holidays, right? Those things need to be spelled out in some sort of document. The village has a memorandum of understanding and our union contracts that spell out all of those. So while I started looking at that draft and creating one for this situation, it's not refined yet, but there's still some areas that we need to put some input. That wasn't the most pressing issue. We really felt like we needed to get some numbers built into this budget so that we had a path moving forward financially for next fiscal year. And so being respectful of the time on the job, what we hired for, what that number moving into it was, but also, wanting to make sure that our staff felt appreciated and acknowledged from the hard work that they do. Both Elizabeth and Madison have hit it out of the park, and I don't think anybody's questioning that. So we are suggesting a $500 bonus out of this current budget year that'll be paid on the next payroll. We're recommending that we offer a 3.5% cost of living raise allocated for the 2022-23 budget, and at the anniversary date of October 22, the 1-year anniversary of employment. Also looking at a $1,500 bonus to be paid out on her first year anniversary in October. So that would give a $2,000 bonus during her first year of employment. But $500 now, because we certainly know we have the money in the budget from this fiscal year to do that. We are recommending a part-time assistant position of 15 hours per week at $12.50 an hour, and this would go into effect at the end of Madison's current intern position. And so I'm not entirely certain what that date is or how many weeks are left, but certainly want to be able to continue that. And I think that's very key, because while Elizabeth is, obviously extremely outgoing and motivated, there's a lot of administrative tasks that take a lot of time. And so having somebody in that position allows her then to say, yep, we're going to do this, get the approvals, get all the pieces in place, and then have somebody execute that while she can move on to bigger and better things and out there in the public and meeting our business owners and perhaps recruiting donations. The donation part is what's going to offset the recommended adjustments to the salary. Elizabeth felt very strongly in my conversation with her that she thought she could achieve a $20,000 revenue increase, and we could use that to offset some of those bonuses. Now, that's not to say if she got a $10,000 donation for a tent for some event and we're spending $10,000 on event, that's not what we're talking about. It's addition monies that's not a realized cost to this board. So we put $20,000 into that budget that we think she can raise that extra bit of revenue. One of the areas that we may look at in that memorandum of understanding is if that's an ongoing practice, or there are donations that are realized above and beyond that, that perhaps the incentive is a portion of that money then goes as additional bonus or payment if they're realized. But I'm not presenting that right now, just something that we talked about. So, did I cover it all? Yep.
I have a quick question on that, Christine. So are we budgeting the $1,500 bonus to be paid at the end of the first year anniversary in October 2022? Is that just what we're budgeting for, or is that dependent on another review at that full year mark? Or is it we're basically saying we're giving out this bonus prior to?
The memorandum of understanding calls for an annual or your anniversary date performance review.
Okay.
As a standard, best operating practice. We did put it in the budget. That doesn't mean that if it's in the budget, you have to, dispense that money.
Gotcha.
If it's warranted in the review process, then we have the money in the budget to then award that.
Okay, just making sure.
A couple questions. First of all, part-time assistant. Are there not, and I don't know the answer to this, I'm asking for help, programs that offer interns, volunteer interns, however they're worded, that if it's even somebody qualified that would help in this area?
Well, there is, but a lot of times what you get what you pay for, and there's a significant learning curve, right? There's a relationship that has to work between, especially a small staff of 2 people, right? There has to be a synergy there so that, if something's handed off, Elizabeth is just sure that it's going to be taken care of in the manner of which she's directing that. And a lot of times interns are just for a small 2 weeks, 3 months, right? A summer sort of position. And I don't know that that's necessarily going to be efficient. We could try it again.
I mean, the learning curve is going to occur whether they're paid or they're volunteer. So that, so that, but as far as if a volunteer would have qualifications, I think would be more of that answer, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I didn't want to interrupt you, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, if I can ask a question, assistant is something that you're requesting?
Yes.
You feel important?
I am.
Okay.
Part of me saying I'm willing to, seek $20,000 in public donations is just not to line the pockets of the DDA more. We have a healthy fund balance regardless. I mean, I know there's a lot of money going out more than you're used to seeing, but I'm also bringing a lot in. I'm increasing the revenue of every business downtown practically. The ones that have sort of retail and.
Yeah, I'm just asking, that's something that you're asking for, as far as
Yes,
assistant?
I am.
Okay,
And, I've had conversations with Madison. She's interested in continuing. If she can find another job that offsets those hours, I'm not necessarily, being completely honest, I'm not necessarily happy with 15. I don't think it's enough hours for what we're doing.
Okay.
That's what we're
But
suggesting.
yes, I am asking
Okay,
that.
and then the number one, the $500, that's our current budget. So that
Yes.
part that currently
Yes.
exists on one of our items, that's already in there.
Yep.
Okay, and then my last, I guess, statement for the record would be, as much as I'm in agreement, 100% here, there's one thing I'm worried about, and that's setting a precedent for, I guess, a recommendation that was already put from the committee, because we had a committee which brought forth a recommendation. We formed another committee that's now bringing forth a change in that recommendation, and I know things can change.
But it's a change
almost
to
like,
the next
why are we-
budget.
Except for the 500, I guess.
Right.
And the
Right.
assistant.
Right.
I mean,
So-
part of it, yes, is the next budget.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I'm torn a little bit, is setting precedents. We form committees, we make recommendations, we vote on a motion, and now we're formed a new committee to change it. is the way.
Those are all
is the way
great
it
points,
appears.
John. They're all great points.
It's just the way it
And absolutely
appears.
worth, discussing and looking at. I think what we've realized is that there was some deficiencies, right? Just what do we need? Who are we going to get? How is this going to, work out?
Yeah.
None of us really have been in the position to have a full-time employee here for a very long time. And so I think just the open-mindedness to just refine that process is really the position that we're coming from, that, while I respect that we put that proposal together initially, I just think where we're at today it's not where we thought we were going to be when we started this process.
And I guess my closing statement to that is, and I agree, and again, as I had indicated, I'm pretty much in agreement here in what we're putting forth. I just want it said, because I don't want to undermine every single committee we do.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
we just came up with a committee for parking committee, okay, and
Yeah.
here's what we want to do, okay, everybody, we're all good to go, and then next month we form a committee and it changes everything. We're wasting all the time and efforts that were put in. So the statement isn't necessarily about this exact committee and this exact recommendation. I just want it said going forward. I don't want to discourage these committees and these decisions because, why bother?
For sure. And I think that having a defined memorandum of understanding will certainly assist with that, because it gives a better,
We're learning. And these
for each and
Right.
every
We're
category.
learning.
We're
Yeah.
learning, these
Yes.
things do need to change
Yeah.
going forward, but not every single one of them. We need to know this is a circumstance where we need to make a change.
Right.
Are you good, John? Are we, you said you get what you pay for. Are we confident at $12.50 an hour that we can attract somebody
No,
who's going to be?
we're not. I really think, honestly, when I was sitting in the driveway of Popeyes, when they're hiring at $14 an hour, right, $18 for a manager, that $12.50 is unrealistic. But,
There's signs out at $16 an hour if you look.
right, I really think that position should be somewhere more, $15 an hour to start. I look at, what are we paying our current village, employees?
What is
So-
the going rate in the village
Sometime
office?
between 14 and 16.
I think we need to up that to at least 14 to be competitive. I know probably more, I get it, but we can't price ourselves out of the, I
Right.
mean, we can't spend ourselves into,
I agree with what you're saying, Zach. It's just you drive down Van Dyke and see $16 an
no,
hour.
I get it. It's a different kind of work though. You know what I mean? It is. It's a different kind of job, and there's a,
Right, this position is, while, certainly not totally directed, right? It's still very task-oriented
Oriented,
and
yeah.
requires some amount of skill set, right? It's,
So we all agree at $14 is probably the minimum we're gonna talk about?
Yep.
And
I would agree.
Possibly might.
So Michelle, how does that change this figure?
We're still good.
Okay.
If you look at the money that Elizabeth is saying she'll raise, I don't think we came close to all of that. We did.
So just change it to 14 then.
Right.
and if we don't get any applicants at 14, we have to go back to the drawing board.
If I may,
Mhm.
so when I was originally looking at these numbers, I'm still differentiating things between the blue and pink sheets. So the pink sheets for the budget is our line item, right,
Mhm.
just for internal purposes. So if you look under, under the 700 section, which is obviously where we are, and it's listed out there, my salary, potential bonus raise, whatever aside, you look down underneath that and you see the part-time salaries and also the accountant is under there. So 6,000 is allocated for the accountant, and we're talking about the next fiscal year. If I were to try to absorb the cost of the accountant and the administrative person, right, of coming up to that 20 grand that I was adding to the public donation section, that would give me around $14,000 to have some wiggle room in there for me to decide, right, hey, okay, maybe I am good with 15 hours a week, or maybe there's times when it's like, yeah, 15 hours is not enough a week, I need more like 20. But when I did just the rudimentary math on if I had 15 hours a week at 15 an hour, that's 11.7, $11,700 a year, right? Then you add the accountant, which I shouldn't absorb that cost, right, in fundraising, but I'm doing it just for argument's sake. I'm still well under, I'm at like 17.7 for the total, still not even reaching my $20,000 donation goal, right? So, I think I can confidently hire someone for less than the 15 or the 16, but do the same thing for that person. Allow me to do the same thing for that person that I'm hoping y'all will do for me, which is you are doing a really good job and you deserve to be rewarded for that. So I would like to do that for that person, whoever that he or she may be, to 6 months out or whatever. Not have to wait for them to say, you know what, I got something else and I'm gonna, move on. And then I have the learning curve all over again. So do they, so do you. So that's where I came up with some of those numbers, and that's why I'm willing to stick my neck out there and say, I think I can raise $20,000 in donations, but I can't do it, and I won't do it by myself. And I can't work 60 hours a week like I've been doing for months.
So what are you proposing? $15 an hour?
I don't know that the hourly rate is something that the board needs to decide on. I think
Well, you're asking us to approve a budget, so we do
Yeah,
need to do
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, so I think if we're going off of the 15, that would be a budget amount of 11.7 there. But I guess what I'm saying is if I could just have a flat amount of 14,000 for admin, that gives me some flexibility with the hours and the rate. I can recruit somebody or retain someone at a lower rate and give them the ability to be rewarded later on.
I think it makes sense. Give
So-
her the money to work with as her admin person, and she can reward them, bonus them, incentivize them along the way. I don't think we need to micromanage it. Outside of that, Elizabeth has done, I think, she's ripped the cover off the ball on this job. I don't think there's a small business person in this room that wouldn't hire someone like that and to get out there and hustle and get the things done she's doing.
So what's your,
I'm saying give her the $14,000 if she thinks that's a number to use for administrative. I myself think it should be higher than that even. I'm not going to open up that can of worms tonight, and I think that would solve the administrative issue for her to manage that money appropriately. Elizabeth exceeded all of our expectations here. We've never had anything like this in my short tenure here, but even before that, over the last decade plus. I mean, this is a person who's pushing hard and put a lot of money in this village, in the restaurants and the various other businesses. In the last few events she's done a significant amount of traffic.
You're asking for 14,000, right? For-
Plus the 6, right? So
for-
20?
For
Yes.
salaries, part-time / intern?
But just, mine does come
'Cause-
out of, where did you guys have it before?
It's-
For,
it-
Carla.
It used to, so
I mean,
the
you
accountant.
looked at that one down too.
Right,
Yeah.
the 6,000 for the accountant was under, the current budget, it was under, it was under contracted services.
Contract.
Yeah, and so it got moved into that category out of another category.
What I'm saying is, if I'm looking at this wrong, because you're asking for 14,000, there's currently 15,750.
Right, so the
So you're
amount where it
bringing
says
it down.
9750, where it says part.
that would be 14,000.
Instead of 9750, it would be 14 is what I'm saying. So what I'm.
So she's asking for a 4250 increase in the amount for the part-time person, plus the accountant at 6,000.
Well,
So-
she should have nothing to do with the account. I'm not tracking that. I'm just,
No.
yeah.
All right, well, then we need a motion out here.
So in line
There's other things
Line
like-
704 should read
We
what?
need a motion to fix
20,000,
this.
right, if I'm
20.
understanding, right? Line
That's right, that's all
704
I'm trying-
should read 20,000 to account for
Correct.
both of those,
Mhm.
right? Okay, instead of the 15,750, it's 20.
Right.
704 is 20,000.
Okay.
That's where I was trying to get.
The one thing I will say though, with Greg's point, the one thing that you don't want to get in, you'd be adding another job to yourself, for yourself, by having to track your employees' hours every week. Like you said, there's some weeks you're working 60 hours. I can only imagine your assistant's probably going to be having to be somewhere in line with your work schedule as well. So what you don't want to do is get in this situation where it's busy and all of a sudden you've exhausted your your budget on that one employee, and before you know it, you're like, oh wait, I didn't even realize we've hit this amount of hours so quickly. And if we're only, if we don't know what rate we're paying, it's going to put more work on your plate by having to monitor that person's average work week. Do you know what I mean?
And the wonderful thing with that, and you're right on that, Zach, but the great thing is like, for instance, with Madison, we already have it's a well-oiled machine. We already, the way we track things, and Kelly sees it, so she doesn't go over, with the Fort County Foundation grant.
Right.
It's 20 hours a week.
Right.
So she doesn't go over that, and we budget her time, and so we don't ever go over that. So
Right,
I
but it would be a
understand what you're
different situation with somebody who's not bound by those limitations.
saying. No, but the limitations would be set by me.
And I think maybe because we have new best practices in accounting and we're going to see budget to actual with those percentages, so you should be able to track
You're
what
gonna see through
percentage
the-
of that total amount has been
The
spent.
percentage would be helpful.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
which is already on there, so.
Okay,
So were there anything else in the budget amendments that we had to talk about?
Well, there was,
The banner maintenance?
yeah, we just received a bill for, the hanging of banners. And so Elizabeth was trying to figure out about approximately, like, if we were to change them once a month, right? We were guesstimating by the bill we had received, and the amount of banners that we want to hang per month, that we were thinking we would at least need was 6,000, to increase this to 6,600.
Well, one, let me say, if you're thinking that you're changing them every month, you're going to be hiring a new DPW, because our guys aren't going to do it once a month. They lost a full guy for 2 days just to hang the spring banners that are out there, and they just don't have the time to dedicate to that on a monthly basis. A couple times a year, we can accommodate, right?
But that might be
Right.
something that, maybe we do hire somebody else to do that,
Right.
have a contractor who can change those out. I don't know, but because we're talking about the next fiscal year
Yep.
budget, and we're trying to create a best practice of figuring out what we're spending, ahead of
Mhm.
time, we need to allocate that because we started getting a bill from the village. for-
How much
Agreed.
was that for?
It was
$600.
something. Yeah, it was like $590 for the one. Oh, it's in your bills, actually, wherever that page is.
well, so it's approximately 600 of,
Well,
For
the
how
money,
many?
it depends on, but like,
How
for
many?
example, this brings up a great question, because, like, if those graduation banners get hung, Christine informed me that there was like 110 banners that went up. So if people are hanging banners, if it's a school, if it's the Lions, if it's somebody else, who's paying for that, right? So those are things I think we don't have to work out for the budget
Well, we had that on
conversation
banner.
tonight, but we do need to talk about what is the policy
Schedule.
moving forward on that.
They had to pay $500 in that banner program,
So
right?
actually, it will be at 8,000 this year.
Yeah, you wanted to increase, but it looks like a decrease to me is what I was gonna say. You
Right.
said 6,000, but we were at 8 before.
But that was before we did the amended budget. If you look at the next one over, it says amended budget, there's 0. Because we weren't spending any money on it when we did the amended
but
budget.
what he's saying is you're asking for a reduced amount.
Yeah, well, but it wasn't used in, none of that money was used before, but yeah, you're right.
DPW is actually hanging the banners now. It's in DPW.
All right,
Are you gonna get
There's
it?
only a few minor changes to this proposed budget, but that's one of them that we have to.
well, we have to fine tune the
Good question.
policy
I
of
know I'd have
who's
to
paying
ask them
for
that.
Right.
what.
It's a very good question.
Bill brought up a good point that because we have a collective bargaining agreement, right, you may not be able to, if that's one of their functions that they are performing, you may not be able to bring in an outside contractor to cut those hours.
Is that in there?
It is, and we had that issue on the cemetery, with, them wanting the overtime, especially on a weekend. I would just have to check that, if we got to that point. Certainly having the money in the budget is the first step, right?
Right.
You have to have it there, period. Whether you spend it, which we didn't do
Right.
prior year, or whether you can utilize somebody to come in and do that work, it doesn't matter.
Does somebody want to make a motion to approve this proposed budget?
Well, we still have to figure out the amount for that thing. Greg, I'm sorry.
I thought we said 6.
I don't have a problem leaving it at 6. I mean, if that's our initial calculations based on an actual bill that we got from the DPW to hang those spring banners. I just think you have to look at your policy, like, if an organization is coming before this board to hang banners, you have to pass that along with
Right.
that approval process so that they can budget for that. Like, yes, we'll let you put 100 banners up, but it's gonna cost you this much for install.
Right.
Whether you want to do that in sponsorship money, that's this board's decision, but I think you just have to account for that expense.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Personally, I wouldn't even open up those floodgates. I say we manage which banners go up, and because that's what, the reason why we did that in the past was to avoid DPW having to come out at random times. We narrowed it down to about 4 major events, and we talked about only changing out the ones at 4 corners because there weren't that many. And that seemed to work okay, and we really haven't, since Amy All used to come to us for the foundation with all the kids stuff, we really haven't had anybody else requesting to put banners up, that I know of at least. So I don't know why we would, do we need to do it 6, 7 times a year?
Again, we have the inventory in DPW. We have beautiful banners that have not been used, that are just sitting there, that could help beautify the downtown, that promotes our brand, that promotes events, that, and so forth. I mean, we literally have over $100,000 probably in banners.
Elizabeth, are you thinking we need to increase the $6,000 that we've got here? I mean, let's
Well, it's
be
always
explicit.
better to have more money in a budget than to have be under and then have to do amendments, right? And the money's sitting there.
Well,
So do you want to move that up to 8?
Be basically keeping it at what
What
we
it
had
had,
before.
right.
Yeah, it gives us cushion, for sure.
All right, let's move that up to 8 then.
All right, and I'm sorry not to get off topic, but is there a way we can get like an inventory list of the banners?
Yeah, absolutely. Madison has it completed.
Okay.
It's just a matter of putting it in a format that can be shared with the board.
Okay, because that would be helpful to determine how many times we have to.
as you increase your expenditure in one place, you're gonna have to take the money from somewhere else. If you're gonna keep this thing in balance. So by kicking that up 2,000, where are we taking the money from?
You're in categories now, Bill, so
I'm just
that's
asking a question.
under 880, downtown decorations. You have ability to move in that whole category.
So
Okay.
what you're saying, are you saying, we don't have to decide right now, right? We just have to decide when
We have to put a number in here for this budget.
we have 8,000, so you have to literally pull 2 out of the lines.
Right.
Can we take new banners down to 5,500 and know if we need to order new ones, we'll make that up in sponsorship or ads on.
So it stays at 85.
Yeah, because we got 7,500 in there right now.
Right, we've got
There's enough
75
money in this.
Okay, I'm just- I'm
Okay.
not-
It stays at
Okay.
85.5.
Yeah,
But
it
we're
stays at
just-
85.5, we're just shuffling it
Yeah.
around,
Right,
and they have
right.
to make a notation.
Take
of it.
new banners down to 5,500.
Right.
And put the 2 grand up there. Yep.
And banner maintenance.
Got it. Okay. So it's not adjusting the budget number.
No, it's just the category.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
I have to ask a question, I apologize, because I was not at the workshops, you guys have probably already hashed this out, flowers and maintenance, flower baskets and pots. My understanding is the contract is up after this current season.
Yes, and Ray's
So-
interested in continuing it for maybe another year, but not a 3-year contract.
So the addition to these line items, is an educated number? We think we can get it done for that amount? The same services done, it looks like a $5,000 increase from 22 to 23, from 2022 to 2023. Line 880110.
The amount went up there because there was, I don't remember, there was a cost increase on something, I can't remember what that was. But that, I have some ideas about how we go about funding the downtown decorations, which I'm not really prepared to talk about tonight. But I think that I'm comfortable with those numbers.
To have him do another year at this new number.
I am, yes.
The potential lighting in the alleys is where, as far as on this budget?
It's not on this budget, it would be, I would be asking for it to come out of our current fiscal year. The lighting for the alleyways, yes, I would be looking at coming out of this fiscal year. That's next fiscal year.
So there'll be none in the next fiscal year budget.
Not for the alleyways, there's lighting, there's holiday, there's,
Holiday lighting, yes.
holiday lighting, that's,
Yes.
I'm not looking for it to be in that category.
Again, I've asked them to figure out what the rollover is on this current budget. And I think that's where you're gonna figure out where you're gonna pluck that from.
Well, we are supposed to approve it next month,
What?
in 2022, 23.
No, this will go before village council for.
We're approving this tonight.
Yeah, they're approving this.
Oh,
The
yeah.
amended, the final amended budget.
Okay, all right.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
On this, the whole pay thing for Elizabeth, I know there was a committee formed and brought back the ideas and such, but where does the discussion, and again, sort of new at this, but shouldn't there be some discussion amongst what the committee found out and let everybody kind of weigh in on the recommendations?
Isn't that what we
I guess
did?
now's the time.
To keep,
Right, well, that's what I
Yeah.
mean, so we haven't talked about and maybe this isn't the appropriate time to do it because of Elizabeth being here, but the suggested bonuses and the suggested,
That's what our recommendation was, this committee.
and it's in this budget.
I understand.
Oh, okay.
But does that then make anybody else on the board not have some input or feedback on what the committee would recommend?
Well, I made my comments already,
Yeah,
specifically to that.
so I just want to make sure there's not another time to do this and that this isn't out of line to bring
Not at
up.
all.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I just think that, again, I wasn't involved in that, but we do have the money, and again, and I was probably one of the most reluctant ones in the beginning to move forward with, I was, to hire and go through this thinking that, hey, here we go, who's going to do this, who's going to own this thing, and, again, my expectations have been exceeded, and I think everybody in this village, especially those who own businesses and real estate and everything else, have really benefited from the traffic that's come in and out of here. And I frankly I think we could be more generous. I do on the board. I understand it's 6 months into it, but it is 6 months into it. I've seen no indication that the momentum's gonna slow on her part. Every time there's more ideas, every time there's more energy. Her young associate this morning, or this afternoon, or evening, whatever, has demonstrated, her zeal and ability to want to participate and push forward. I just think we have to let our appreciation be known, and we have the money to do that, and money talks, and I think that's what we need to strongly consider. And if we have to go back and talk about it more, that's great. If we don't, then we move forward, but I just want to make it known, I think we could be, should be and can be more generous to what we're offering here.
My comments to what you just said, Greg, is I don't think we've touched upon the traffic that's going to be coming to this area based on the progress that's been made this last 7 months. I think it's just the beginning. My feeling, it's going to skyrocket from here. What you've seen an increase,
Yeah.
as you're indicating, is only
And I say that as a business owner, it really gets no gain from that. My business doesn't benefit from it. That's not what it's about. But I see the restaurants. I was down Friday night, went out to the Arbor Day. I was shocked. I went in the newly renovated Main Street pub bar and loaded with people. A lot of good activity, and these folks are greatly benefiting from it. And I like the momentum, and I want to see it keep going, and I want Elizabeth to feel rewarded and appreciated for what she's done.
So are you proposing we change what we recommended?
Yeah, I am, and
Come to the
again,
table with,
I-
come to the table with numbers, Greg.
The $500, it's in today's environment with the effort that's going on. You know, she unscrambled all the accounting, she brought someone in to do that, she fixed all of the insurances that were not paid. I mean, these were things that we didn't even know were coming at us. You know, has chased Sean around to get this package put together, has put this deal together with the Four County Foundation. And these are things that we weren't even thinking about.
What is your recommendation?
I recommend up the ante from that 500 to 2,500 bucks.
With still the additional 1,500 coming in October?
Yeah, and probably then I'll say up that to 50,000. I don't know what I'll say then.
All right, I'm gonna reel it in just for a second, Greg.
No,
Right, thank
I
you.
didn't hear anything.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, I think. And you know what, if these parks keep filling up with people and these ideas keep coming, this is what this village needs. This is
Greg, we can
exactly.
amend this coming down the road.
Say again?
We can
Right.
amend this thing, so let's.
Agreed. So I say bring
this
it
has
up
gotta
to
be adopted
2,500
tonight.
down.
We're running, this has to be adopted tonight.
Right.
For the
Yeah.
village council.
So
So the recommendation is 2,500 out of the current budget, because that's where we were pulling this 500.
yeah. So that her bonus upcoming instead of the 500 would be 2,500.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion that we raise the bonus from 500 to 2,500.
Where's that coming out of?
This fiscal year?
No, I know, but where's it coming out of
That's-
Balance remaining is 13,480, but I had to calculate how much for.
Payroll?
She's getting,
Yeah.
you know,
Because you got all of May and all
Four
of June.
more pays.
4 more, I mean, you definitely have enough.
This is really what every taxpayer, I believe, in this community needs, is something, the energy that we're building right now. And I hope this is just the tip of the iceberg. A lot of us up here have voted with our checkbooks for the last 10, 20, 30 years or more in this community and have rolled the dice on real estate and property and everything else. And everybody watching this or paying attention has a vested interest in these activities continuing to grow and signage. I mean, my gosh, it's every direction she's coming and it's more than what we could have hoped for.
So
Greg,
you're, sorry.
No, I don't disagree with you,
Right.
but I will say, from somebody who's been on the board for the last 8 years, we have been so tight fiscally on our spending because we had to be.
Yeah.
The reason why we have this surplus, and don't get me wrong, I do think we have to spend it, but we've been very, very cautious on how we spend our money and we've been building that up so that we can do things like this now. But if those sponsorships and donations, if those start coming in, yeah, we'll have more to work with. But how long can we do the big projects if that we're going to run through a lot of our surplus here?
I want to reward her for what she's done the last 6 months, for digging in there and getting it done. And respectfully, the budget's been tight, money hasn't been paid out, but I mean, you saw we all knew the cobwebs that were created here over a period
This
of
is
time.
not the place for performance
Things just weren't
review.
up to
Well,
speed. So,
unfortunately, it is.
Well, we have to make a decision.
so
So,
I would just say we're rewarding her for this hard push the last 6 months, and in the future, it may not be there if the activity doesn't stay the same. It's sort of a reward bonus.
Shelley, we need a motion to adopt this budget.
Christine had something to say.
I was just going to clarify, so Greg sort of did get us off topic because we were talking about the budget, but your motion is separate from the budget.
Budget.
Your motion is to increase the performance bonus, one-time bonus, to $2,500.
Out of this
Out of this
fiscal.
fiscal year.
Yeah.
So we had a motion on the table.
Yeah, we can't make, we're talking about the budget right now. If he wants to bring this up as something later, that's something, I don't think he can.
Well,
do
part
that.
of the budget and the recommendation from the committee was to adjust the budget for a lot of these items, except for the $500, which was going to be paid out of this current fiscal year. So I understand your point. It's a little bit off topic, but it was still part of what we were voting on in the budget, to spend $500 this year and then approve this budget moving forward for next year.
I would think we'd have to have something on our agenda to do something like that. I don't see how we can break out of the middle of the budget discussion.
Well, we can approve
There's,
the current budget and then go back to this, what he's proposing.
I would agree on that, but
I understand what you're saying. So if it's okay, Greg, can we bring that, we
Yeah.
bring that
Then
in
that's what
June?
yeah.
We'll put that on the agenda, and that will be our target to do that.
Yeah.
But for right now,
We
we're going
need
to
to
approve the $20,000 in donations, the numbers that are highlighted in yellow, with changing the 20 grand number for the salaries for the intern or admin, and then 8,000 for the banner maintenance, however we
Okay,
adjusted
I-
that.
I'm sorry, I'm taking minutes here, and he had a motion, but I didn't get if there was a second,
There
so.
was
for-
no
There was no second.
Greg, if you withdraw the motion, you can put it on the agenda for next meeting appropriately, and you'll be happy to know I won't be here. So,
Well, let's just,
if you do that, then
Okay,
we make a
withdraw
motion.
your motion
I'll
right
withdraw
now.
my emotion.
And we will add it to our agenda
I'll
for
withdraw
June.
my motion.
Okay,
Um,
I'd
I-
make a motion that we adopt the budget as amended.
Yeah.
Is there,
okay, I guess I'm just kind of confused here, because there's something here in what was presented for a bonus out of the current budget to be paid.
$500 out of the current budget.
Was that ever going to be voted on tonight?
Because it was an oversight, that it technically was not on the agenda,
Okay.
as Bill has indicated.
Okay,
It was part of the
So we have to-
recommendation that came
We
back.
have to put it on June's agenda.
you
Gotcha.
can't, I just don't think you can.
You're right, you're right.
yep.
We have to go
You better
on,
hope the hops, or whatever sock hop doesn't happen prior to it, because we're gonna
It's
raise
not.
it to 3,500 if it goes off good.
okay, we have a motion on the floor
To adopt the amended budget
with the changes,
with the changes indicated.
which
Well,
was,
we need to have a dollar amount here, so.
the changes were $20,000.
Can you give us 1 second, just to, because we're all, the only thing, the numbers, the only numbers that we're changing would be,
Banner Act.
adding the 4,250 under employee expenses, right? Offsetting, what I was requesting, so we would change, so there was that. And then the other item, that Kelly and I discussed was the under CBD events, which is the 880.20. When we talked about the facade grant program is taking the 7,000 from this year and adding it to the budget. The rolling that
So that-
7,000 to making that one 17.
17, okay.
So on the blue sheet, under 88.20, we would be changing that total category budget of 22,700 to 30,200. I'm sorry, 29, yes, I'm sorry, my mistake. So,
29.2.
so the final budget number would be an addition of the,
We have to add 2,000. We had 6,000, and we want to change it to 8,000.
did you guys change that?
Yes.
Okay.
So that'll be, so.
But that 8,000 offset because you reduced something else,
That's right.
right?
Okay, yeah.
You-
So
The
it's
banner
just-
ads.
It's the.
Right.
The banner ads went down to 55.
Right.
Which would be added to the 304,869. So it's the 4,250 for employee expenses is going up, and then the 7,000 rolling it from the CBD events. So we'd be doing this 27. Yeah, just give us 1 second. So
We didn't discuss the
304,869.
CBD events that they're talking about. I'm lost on that one.
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't want to interrupt them. What is this CBD events? We're taking money out and putting it somewhere else?
Okay, go to your pink sheet, on the last page.
Yep.
Right under where it says the CBD events, the next one down where it says 880.056.
Right.
So earlier tonight, when we were talking about the facade and the sign grant program, we won't be able to award any of those before the end of the current fiscal year. So instead of keeping, so since none of that $7,000 for this current fiscal year is going to be spent, roll it into next year so that we have a larger portion that we can give away. Or award, I should say.
I'd like to see it just stay the same. We haven't spent it. We still have 10 grand in there. you keep it at 10 grand and we start,
17's an awful lot of money.
we start rolling the process forward, right?
We also have a lot of businesses that are coming into town that want to improve things, I think.
I
But
don't
we
disagree with that.
We
but-
formed a committee that is going to come forward with what the recommendations are for these grants.
It's true.
Okay.
I was just referring to our conversation earlier, so.
So we're leaving
I'd rather
that-
not use all of our prior year fund balance if at all
Right.
possible. So,
that's
So the
staying
only
at
number
10,000.
change then would be under employee expenses then, is that correct?
No,
And banner.
and banner.
well, the banner was just a flip-flop of numbers.
That's just an
Yes.
offset, so that,
Sorry, you're right. The only increase is.
but that's already there.
On the blue sheet, right, so you're increasing that 304,869 by $4,250. So you're at 305, can't do that math in my head.
So the only change is taking it
Yes.
304.89 and adding 42.50 to it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that come to?
I thought the reason for going to the accounting we had was so we would have category totals. And if we needed to move money around.
I'm talking, this
we
is,
had to sit
nope,
here
just
and
this one
grab
right
that
here.
thing.
Nope, no.
Right, that's why
That's-
you're,
okay.
you're approving this blue one, because it just has,
304.869.
Not all
right,
this,
'cause this
just
is our
one
total
number. Yep.
expenditure.
So what is it, 3?
304.869
Do we know what it
plus
is?
she's doing the math right now.
All we're adding is this amount here for that. So the new total expenditures on your blue sheet, if you look under where it says total expenditures for the proposed budget, instead of the 304.869, it's 309.119. So that is the motion that so on the action item for approval.
To approve the proposed budget at the category level as detailed on the attached schedule in the amount of $300,009 and $119.
Yes, who's making that motion?
I did.
So just to clarify, so you're using $84,969 out of prior year fund balance, but that's because the pedestrian crosswalk project is a carryover.
Right.
And that's 90,000, so technically you are still under budget from
Under
what
revenue.
revenues that you're gaining.
Right.
Yes.
That was a very good point, I just wanted to make sure that point was understood.
Okay, I've made the motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Who was the second?
Bill?
Bill, okay.
Roll call?
Okay, Tar,
Yes.
Kellogg is not here, Melvin,
Yes?
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yeah.
Okay, motion, that's not for me to say.
Michelle, is it possible for me to get an updated one of these for tomorrow night's Village Council Budget Workshop meeting?
This one?
Yeah, just, right.
Just with the
of these
updated
numbers,
numbers.
The pink and the blue, because we provided an old one in our packets last week, but I'd like to, at their place, have the corrected numbers if it's possible. Our meeting's at 6, so 5 is fine. Yeah.
You want them to be colored the same way, is it helpful?
It's very helpful, yep, that would be great. And I will just throw out real fast, so at the first hour of tomorrow night's Village Council meeting, it is a workshop meeting, there's going to be a municipal accounting overview by Plant Moran, the village's new accountants, because we have new accountants and they have a whole best practices. So if anybody is interested in attending for that first hour, it'll be a great overview on how municipal accounting works. And Michelle and Elizabeth are doing a great job, but if you want the more
Sounds
rudimentary education,
there.
come for an hour, right? Bring a pizza,
Can
6
we
o'clock.
come early?
What?
Can we come there early?
You can,
Oh my gosh, I hear this sarcasm.
right?
Okay, new business. Northeast Quadrant Alley, Starkweather Alley, and Parker Alley enhancements. Do you want to talk about this?
I do, and I think I can be brief. I talked to you about this at this board last month. I went before Village Council after, and you all received my communication via email. After communicating with all business owners in the Northeast Quadrant. Since then, the new owner of Bushy Meats is completely behind this. So I've also included in your handout today, if you look at your last sheet, where it shows the alleyway sponsorships ideas, I actually have a check from Shane Roofing already for $5,000 that he wrote me on Friday, which I will rip up if you guys don't approve this tonight. And he specifically wanted, said, well, can you get better benches than that? And I said, sure, I could get better benches if I had more money in the board to budget. And I said, well, this is what I'm looking for. So, I already have committed, over $7,000 to straight up donations as of right now. One of the other donors is Extra Credit Union, the ones that already sent money. They also make these, it's similar to the little free libraries, but you can't call it a little free library unless you're under that guide, but they have someone within the organization that makes them, and they would like to put those also in all three of our alleyways. But much input, going back to my agenda, my action item for approval, I am seeking an amount not to exceed $15,000 with funding from the DDA being only $5,000, which means I'm looking to raise $10,000, which is half of next year's recommended revenue of donations. So I think I'm already showing you how I can put my money where my mouth is by already having over $7,000 in donations for this project alone. Much input and support has been given to the creation and the organic development of this project. Some ideas include using and moving a few of our current 48-inch round planters, overhead edits and lighting, seasonal art sculptures on loan that could also be used for sale, collapsible bar-type tables. One came today. Kelly and I talked about those last.
Oh, it did come?
It came in, but I haven't had time to open it. That are used in other municipalities. Permanent high-quality benches for Starkwater and Parker Alley, smaller flowering trees, sundials, painting some area rugs. That would be on the alleyway at the village office. Fence panels for creating sense of space in the northeast quadrant, and installing some doggy pet waste systems. And like I said, if you look at a couple of my collages there, we had some input from a couple of business owners, specifically in the southeast quadrant, since we do have a dog grooming place right there. Not all people who bring their dogs for grooming, I guess, are very good about picking up after their pets. And it did raise to question that, why don't we have some of those poo bag thingies? If anybody knows Anthony Riggy, who owns Artisan Capital Management next to the Village Hall, on the west side of his building, he has a small one installed right there. It looks like you could just stick it in there and hammer it down. It probably only costs less than $150 or so from what I looked at. So that's another great way that we can, solve a problem from one business to another. Again, you see the fire pit, those that you were at Arbor Day, if you weren't there, you don't know that those were sponsored. We got those for free. And they're actually interested in giving us 2 more because I asked them for 4. And they said, ask again, we'll give them to you. They were excited to see someone requesting a donation who actually uses them. They weren't looking for it to be an auction item or a donation for a fundraiser.
Who donated them?
Pardon?
Who donated them?
The Solo Stove.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Great.
the national brand. And so we
Yeah.
own those ourselves
Nice.
at home. And they're thrilled. They're thrilled how we're using them. And, my husband David got a pretty cool video of the juggling guy. They were both lit, and he was in the middle of it, doing the fire juggling. And so we're going to be submitting that to the company and seeing what they do with it. So if we were to use those in this space, it would obviously only be under supervision. If we Matt Jarosh he's already figured out the lighting situation as far as putting some of that in there. And I've got some volunteers that are interested. Starkweather is very interested in the idea of putting some outdoor sculptures in those spaces, and the ability of possibly having them be sculptures that are even for sale, and just having signs there. Again, that's, Zach, to your point, how do we get more art? This is a great pilot project. We'll see what happens. It could fall flat on its face. I don't think it will, but it could. But at least we wouldn't have put much out initially.
So you're asking for this $5,000 to come out of the current budget?
Yes.
And that's in downtown decoration category?
Let me go to it. You have yours on.
Seems like we have money left in there.
We do.
Yep.
Oh, it's, here we go.
Raining?
Sounds like it's raining, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the Northeast Quadrant Alley, Starkweather Alley, and Parker Alley enhancements not to exceed $15,000 with funding from the current fiscal year DDA budget of $5,000.
Does it need to be stated the additional 10,000 is from fundraising? Or sponsorships, whatever term?
No, we're just-
Recommendation,
Yeah.
recommended motion,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That addition of
But
current fiscal year budget?
Because it lists 15,000.
Not to exceed 15 with funding from the DDA budget of 5,000.
So we're just
I think
approving
that covers.
5,000.
I think that
5,000.
covers
That
this.
covers it?
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
If I may ask a question, Elizabeth, alleyway sponsorship ideas as an example, you've got some numbers and some people. What expectations do those people have specifically? Are they donating to a certain area of this project?
I am so glad you asked that question.
Because I want to make sure that there's equity and distribution from all, whether it be sponsorships, whether it be our budget, what have you.
No, I'm glad that you asked that question, because I had that question asked from a few different people who are interested in donating, because they wanted to put, like, can I get a yellow picnic table, because that's their company's colors, and I'm like, no. I think it's just better if it is, not because I don't like yellow picnic tables, but it gets, there's a lot of project debt associated with if you have to have placards on every tiny little thing. So instead, what I would have is the same signage for all three alleyways that says these areas, this beautification project sponsored by, and then all the sponsors' logos would be on that. So it would be
Same sign.
same sign,
Okay.
correct?
That's fine. I just want to make sure we don't raise $10,000 and $10,000 goes into the southeast quadrant alley. It's-
Point well
there's
taken.
just-
Mhm.
there's, it's got to be. like,
Absolutely.
Whether, okay, whatever. Shell gas station, the first one listed, so they're in the northeast. Their expectation is not that 250 is going to be used for the northeast alley.
Correct. I've made it abundantly
Gonna be
clear that
descriptive.
right, correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so we have the motion. It was seconded by Zach. And I need a roll call.
Tar,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes?
Brandt,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes?
Hayes,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Motion-
Pardon?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
And the last drawing came from John. So the one that was just handed out tonight came from, I think, from his wife. So some fun stuff I think you'll see happening.
Okay, Bill and Carl, do you want to talk about the mulching of the southwest quadrant?
We spent $300 last year doing it.
Is that what you want?
I'll make a motion to approve $400 for mulch for this beds, following Zach Fowler's
I'll
lead,
second it.
because it's 10 minutes to 9.
I know.
I'll second it.
Roll call,
Okay,
please.
can you give me one? $400 for mulch for what?
For the municipal bed areas in that southwest quadrant, yeah,
Southwest quadrant?
Quadrant.
yeah.
Okay, and that motion was by
Christine?
Christine, seconded by,
Greg,
okay.
$50 to build and install it.
Bill's
Who's
not
putting
installing.
it in, by the way?
Carl.
Carl.
Oh, okay. Did you want me to do a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay, Tar,
Yes.
Kella is not here, Melvin,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Can I vote on this? Yes.
Well, we're not paying
You're
you.
not installing mulch, are you?
We got it.
No,
Not in the mulch?
some years I just paid for it, that's all.
Okay, can we get a motion to adjourn?
No.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'm not even asking you guys if you got
Okay,
comments.
who seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.